I didn't see that live. I saw it in hindsight afterwards. I guess Coach Shanahan was speaking about Devondre Campbell.
Yep.
Like, you want to talk about, I know we speak about what Callahan and the Titans got going on and, the projection and hope for the team here in Nashville from a lot of this fan base. But you ain't had nobody pull one of these on you, Will.
So, Devondre Campbell declined the invitation to go in the game in the second half. So, injuries to the San Francisco linebackers. Dre Greenlaw gets hurt again, which really hurt them late in this game as well, even though, obviously, the defense, not the issue when you lose 12-6. Kyle Shanahan said after the game, he said he didn't want to play today. Have you ever had anything like this happen before?
I told you we had a training camp situation that happened. We had a training camp situation that happened where a guy quit the game. He quit playing football in the middle of training camp, and it was one of those days, too, where it was probably the hardest day that we were going to have in pads. So dude mentally just was not in it as it pertains to, like, a guy wanting to play football. And quite honest, he was probably going to make the roster. He was probably going to make, play significant time for us and everything. But I've never had a team. Yes, I have. I am tripping. You know why, Will? Why I'm tripping? That I said, no, I've never had it happen? Because
You suppressed this memory?
It happened here.
Did it really?
It happened here.
In Nashville?
Okay. LeGarrette Blount.
Oh. Titans legend.
Steelers legend.
I honestly forget he even played for the Steelers.
We were on to something.
Sounds like you also forgot he played for the Steelers.
Because it was, oh my gosh, yes, Will, that has happened. It happened here in Nashville.
Okay.
Yes, oh my gosh. You want to talk about weird after the game, though? Because that was one of those games, I'm going to bring up the history of it,
sure.
But it's not for that moment. We had that's like when Le'Veon was really taking off. But he had a yin and a yang. Like, LeGarrette Blount was the power back. Like, Le'Veon, you saw what he was. But that night was Le'Veon's night. I think we ran for, I hate to say this out loud, 240-some yards.
Okay.
That night. So
thanks for that. Probably made me really sad as like a middle schooler or something.
Yeah, you probably hated me on Andros that night because we was cooking. I ain't gonna lie to you, Will. We were cooking that night, man. And for whatever reason, LeGarrette, I think, this is me saying this, he can call in if somebody tell him. And
I don't know if LeGarrette Blount's listening to Nashville radio this morning.
But you'd be surprised how many words get back to former players on stuff that I've said before, right? But I don't know what LeGarrette thought his role was going to be that year because it was Le'Veon's time. It was his goal moment, right? And he just got hot that night. And he refused to go back in a game. And we're on the sideline. We're excited. I mean, I think it was like a franchise record or something like that at the time. Like, we were having a grand old time. And next thing you know, we see like our PR guy walking LeGarrette through the tunnels. And afterwards, everybody's asking questions like, what happened? Like, nobody knew, man. He just did not want to play for us anymore. And it was probably the most weird, like, plane ride back. Looking at him, because the thing about LeGarrette, the human, he was cool as hell.
Yeah,
he was so cool.
Not as a football player that night, clearly.
At that time, like, he was just a dude, man, and it shocked the hell out of me that he actually quit on us in that moment, at a high moment too. So yeah, sure. I have had that happen. Well, that's pretty friggin' weird. But you know what happened? He ended up getting picked up by the Patriots, and he went on to win the Super Bowl.
That was before the Patriots run. That's crazy.
No, that year.
Eagles legend, too. I mean, he's got a couple rings.
Yeah, I know. If I'm not mistaken, I think LeGarrette got like 3 of them things, too,
It probably does. I think that's right.
Like, and I was just thinking to myself, like, the football guy's going to make him pay. No, the hell they did not.
Well, anyway, 12-6, the Rams, 8-6. The 49ers are 6-8. Really bad night for Brock Purdy last night. He was not good, and I think largely he doesn't get enough credit for how good he actually is. Yeah. But last night, 14-31, 142, and a pick. Matthew Stafford kept trying to throw picks.
Yeah, he did.
I don't know how many interceptions the 49ers defense just totally dropped. But injuries have just totally ruined this 49ers run, to be honest with you.
That, and like you said, they can't get on the same page. I'll tell you a highlight of them all, though, right now is I got Juwan. Juwan's having...
Honestly.
I don't think...
Honestly. Only had 2 catches last night,
That's what I was going to say. None of the receivers did anything last night.
Right.
And even Kittle was getting holding calls like that. it wasn't their night, and I don't think this is their year as it pertains to what we expect them to be. Again, I know we had the conversation about the offseason that the Titans had and all the optimism. It's just like when the season happens and the ball kicks off in that opening weekend, like the season writes itself. There's no rhyme or reason to say, yes, the Niners are going to be that good. I mean, everybody's still waiting for the ball to drop on Kansas City or trying to figure out what's going to happen in Philly, but the season writes itself. Injuries, drops.
The script writes itself.
I know.
There are script writers that put this all together for us.
I didn't get it this year, though. I didn't get the script this year, though, Will. Sure didn't.
Not what some cities think. 615-737-1045 is our number. I'm ready to just play Tennessee and Ohio State.
Why is that?
This just dead week in the middle. I understand why it is needed. I understand the requirement for the Army-Navy game to still be a standalone game in college football.
Yeah.
But I'm also, we've already analyzed so much of Tennessee, Ohio State. We still have 8 days to go.
What you say? If college can infringe upon Monday nights or if NFL can infringe upon Saturday nights now moving forward, then we should be able to infringe upon the Army-Navy game.
No, I don't know about that either. I mean, it does make sense for it to be its own game. I guess in the very unlikely scenario that Army and or Navy could make the college football playoff.
Yeah.
I guess you have to have it on its own weekend.
You do. It's fun, though. I will say this, watching Ohio State Twitter find its way over to Vols Twitter right now, though, too.
Isn't it always fun watching non-SEC fans interact with Tennessee fans on the internet for the first time?
I don't think they knew what they were getting themselves into.
No, they did not.
No.
Rarely does a fan base know what they're getting into when they start interacting with Tennessee fans for the first time.
Which, again, like I said, the back and forth that it's become on social media about who's better. You guys hadn't done anything like that. Like, I've seen memes from them that I was like, oh, wow, I didn't know you guys were that petty up north.
Whenever I see Twitter beef like that, I'm always thinking, like, in North Carolina, it was like, man, those guys suck. And now seeing you guys talk trash, y'all really suck. Like, I do not want to have to go head-to-head with any of y'all's Vols trash talkers on Twitter.
Like, one of our social media residents, man, Big Orange Max, like, he is, I think, seeking out Ohio State.
Absolutely,
people.
as you should.
Bert, Will, like, it's some stuff I've seen. It's just like, I'm with you. Put the ball down. Let's go play football, because the amount of disrespect as of late has been good. Have we confirmed or had it like debunked about this Ohio State ticket pool thing? Y'all seen this from Ticketmaster?
About what?
Well, apparently there's a group of their fan base, Ohio States, that's somewhat upset, and they don't care about the Vols flooding the shoe. So they gave away the code from Ticketmaster to the season ticket holders.
It got leaked. The pre-sale code for season ticket holders got leaked, I believe, on Reddit.
Apparently, it was an Ohio State fan that said, okay, screw it, you guys can have it.
Well, it would have to be.
It had to be.
I mean, only their season ticket holders. It's like when you
nuts.
sign up for a concert early and you get a pre-sale code in order to open it before everyone else can. That's exactly what happened.
Maybe it was one of those houses divided. Honestly, those houses divided you keep hearing about so much.
So the Kessling family, I'm just kidding. That's not a real accusation. That is not a real accusation.
Bert, like, I know you said,
not
like,
take that seriously.
We suck, but, like, that's some cool stuff right there. Like, that's literally walking your trap, take over your trap.
It just means more level. So the Barrett Salih, college football writer, said on Twitter yesterday that he thinks it'll be 35% Tennessee fans.
That's actually pretty heavy. That's way more
Ohio
than
Stadium.
I thought. That's way more than I thought would go up.
I have heard from so many people as listeners of this show or just friends that I went to college with. Like, oh, are you going? Like, oh, we'll be up there. Like, where are you tailgating?
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. I am planning on going up there.
Are you?
I am.
I'll be an hour away. And I'm trying to decide how tired I want to be coming back.
Tired. I think you prefer to be tired.
I prefer to be tired. Because here's the thing, we go up to Indy next weekend, and that's an hour from Indianapolis from what I've heard.
Oh, wow.
Yes, exactly. So I'm thinking about it right now. Yeah.
That's like the stars aligned there.
The stars do align.
It sounds like you have to go.
Like, I can get a rental car and just roll over there.
Yeah, right.
Like, that's...
Or a helicopter. You know, I figured you would be looking for one of those.
Who am I supposed to be, Indiana Jones right now?
Can you get a helicopter chauffeur around this place?
That's one flying vehicle, I guess. Do we call it? No.
Flying vehicle, yes.
Yeah, whatever it is that I am scared of still. Like, I've yet to be in a helicopter.
I haven't either, actually.
Do you want to go in a helicopter?
I'm kind of indifferent.
You're indifferent?
I don't need to, but I'm not scared of it.
Only time I want to get in a helicopter is if we go hog hunting in Texas.
Is that a thing
then that can distract me.
Is that a thing you do in helicopters?
It is.
Oh,
it's a real big thing.
They weld a daggum Gatling gun to the side of it, and you just mow them down, man. They're an invasive species, so they're like,
it's okay. Right. Yeah, like
let God sort them out.
We can harvest the meat after that too. Still, I think. Yeah,
harvest the meat. I love.
Okay, all right.
No, we're not doing this today.
There's no coming back from that.
We're not doing this today. Okay, Kayla's not here. Okay, and we will keep the train on the tracks today. Okay.
615-737-1045 is our number. How much do you trust Nico Iamaleava against Ohio State and allow him to be the guy? Yeah, of course he's going to start. Of course he's going to play in the game. He is the starting quarterback, no doubt. How much do you let him be the reason why you win? Or do you try to minimize the quarterback position if you're Tennessee and Columbus? Because I'll be honest with you, I think a lot of people are getting discourse that is wrong and that is out of date on Nico Iamaleava as it pertains to Tennessee and Ohio State. Going to talk about that next as we kick off hour number 1 here on a Friday morning edition of Ramon, Caitlin, and Will. What's up? It's Will Bowling. Sunday morning before the Titans take on the Cincinnati Bengals. Coming out with us at Gray and Dudley at the Bankers Alley Hotel. It is the best place to start your game day. It's still got the same delicious food, craft cocktails, family-friendly atmosphere, and exclusive game day valet parking. For just $30, we've taken the party inside for the rest of these tailgates. Just got 2 of them left as well. If you want to come hang out with us this weekend, we got a brunch burger and Bloody Mary combo. $25 gets you a fried egg and bacon burger, and then you're going to get a Bloody Mary that's got bacon, cheese, house pickled okra. It is loaded up. It is essentially breakfast in a glass. Come by and see us. It is $20 if you choose to dine in with us at Gray and Dudley, or it is $30 game day valet parking for those who just come tailgate and want to go ahead and walk over the bridge to Nissan Stadium. 221 2nd Avenue North. We will be there at 9:30 a.m. before the Titans take on Cincinnati this weekend at the Bankers Alley Hotel.
What's going on, guys? Bert and Ramon here to tell you about the original hot chicken. That's Princess Hot Chicken. Last night they did karaoke. You still got 1 day to get those codes in for Codes for Keelan's, and they got you covered for all of your Christmas catering needs, Ramon.
Absolutely, man. As Bert told you today, man, y'all get over to Princess Hot Chicken at the Tanger Alice or the Nolensville Road location. Listen to me, man. They will be having a coat drive for Keelan, as Bert just told you. Drop off new or gently used coats at those locations, man. Coach donations will be Brenda's Box of Blessings and Restoration Point Clothes Closet. Do something nice for somebody else, y'all. Y'all know how this goes, man. And on top of that, man, get you some chicken. I feel like I need to go out there because Bert still hadn't given me the date for the holiday party at his house. So I guess I'll go to Princess Hot Chicken and get me something if that's the case. So go to one of 5 locations around the city, man. Treat yourselves to the best original hot chicken in Nashville, or simply go to princesshotchicken.com.
Football Friday on RKW. Ramon Foster and Will Bowling. Kayla Anderson with the morning off. She will be suffering for the Lord down on a cruise for the next week. It's always what we call it in my family when somebody's on a really nice vacation. They're just suffering for the Lord.
Suffering for the Lord.
Robert Walsh makes the show happen. 615-737-1045. Ramon, how much do you trust Nico Iamaleava against Ohio State and let him cook?
How much do I trust it? Out of 10 or 7? 7.5, actually.
And I think that's the right answer. And so I asked this question because I think a lot of the discourse on Nico is kind of lazy, to be honest with you, because I think people are holding mistakes that he made in weeks 1 through 5, maybe more like weeks 3 through 6, honestly.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Because at the beginning of the season, obviously, wasn't challenged. We didn't, Kent State and UTC put up very little resistance to the Tennessee offense.
That's true. I got one. NC State, the 2 picks in that game right there. Remember those? Yeah. Like that right there. If we're looking at a stat line, you box score watching or something like that, well, he threw 2 picks in the NC State. Yeah. One of them was it hit his elbow, if I'm not mistaken. Ball went in the air. And then the other one, it was a timing route. The break wasn't there, and he threw it a little bit too early, if I'm not mistaken. That's the wide receiver got pulled on that play. So, and the same thing happened in the Arkansas game, too. Like, his his misfortunes have been, I feel like, offensive line pressure or just misreads. Like, those are the things to me, Will, to where people are going to knock him or have issues with him. It's those moments right there. But, I mean, knocking on wood like crazy right now. It's 5 picks on the season.
Right. So, I think against Vanderbilt, he showed significant progress from the beginning of the season. And I know it's Vanderbilt, and I know Tennessee was able to protect him in a way in that game that good defenses have really been able to kind of fluster him. But it feels to me like he quietly, Ramon, has gotten significantly better over the course of this season, and I don't think people are talking about it enough because I think Dylan Sampson and this defense have now started to overshadow how good Nico Iamaleava has been the last 2 months of the season.
He's done everything the coaches asked him to do. That's the thing also that we got to look at when it comes to specifically college quarterbacks. Like, I think there is a different expectation from NFL coaching to collegiate coaching and expectation of the players. One thing that we fail to talk about a good bit too, because I feel like he's been around for so long, is he's just a redshirt freshman. And in that right there, the expectation of those types of guys is what he's done this year. Arch Manning's in the same situation as he is, as in a sense, right? To where we've seen a guy go in, come out, make a mistake or two. Well, guess what? Nico's got a full season under his belt against SEC opponents, Will, and he's delivered more times than not this year. Florida, he played his game in the second half. You look at the Bama game, he came out and did what you needed him to. That was probably his worst statistic game as it pertains to completions and whatnot. But the second half, he delivered. He found his touch later down the stretch as far as hitting his wide receivers down the field, and his ability to tuck the ball and run as of late, too, has been a whole lot more smarter. In the last 3 weeks of the season, including the Georgia game, he had 12 attempts rushing against them, 6 against El Paso, and 6 against Vanderbilt, which was crucial in those moments, too, against that defense.
So you think using his legs more could be a way to, A, just give him more confidence and open up a part of the offense that wasn't previously there, but B, let him be the best version of himself.
And that's what we've been asking for the professional quarterback here in this city too, right? Is, hey, do the things that you were naturally born with. And that's why I think Nico's ability to not do that earlier in the season as often, and this time now understanding more of the offense, being a little bit more settled. What we haven't seen him do a lot has been that squat in the pocket type of thing that he's been doing, where he's nervous as hell about pressure.
Right.
That to me shows a little bit more growth, to where the Vanderbilt games, the last game they played, watching him sit in the pocket, double pump that football to who's a tight end down the middle of the seam against Vanderbilt guy,
Miles Kitselman.
Yep. That was, to me, Will, one of the bigger growth moments that he's had this year, was not being in a hurry, understanding I got time in his pocket to deliver a football to a guy that's not necessarily open right now. I thought that was solid from him.
And I think, too, Brent Hubbs wrote about this at volquest.com and a couple different things that I thought are really significant with Nico. His touchdown against Vandy to Mike Matthews was a second progression throw. His touchdown to Dante Thornton over the middle of the field, he had to wait an extra beat. He didn't immediately just try to thread it through on the slant. He allowed Dante Thornton to cross in front of the defender who was in the flat, then hits him in a place where he could catch it and run with it and run all the way for a touchdown. It runs, 80 yards on that play. The stat of the season for Tennessee is still the fact that since Nico's 26-yard scramble in the third quarter against Alabama, he has completed 68% of his passes for 1,187 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 1 interception. The pick was against Vanderbilt, where the ball clearly just kind of slipped out of his hands a little bit and fluttered on him, and it was an awful throw. Honestly, it's one of his worst throws of the season. Yet that has been the outlier in a lot of good, Ramon, and I just don't think people understand how much better Nico is from where he was at the beginning of the season. And to be honest with you, how much better this offensive line is playing from Tennessee's upset loss in Fayetteville.
I mean, think about how we were talking about Lance Hurd earlier this year.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he wasn't, even in the, if I'm not mistaken, the NC State game, it's just like, what are you doing? And then, of course, they had the rotation of tackles in the Oklahoma game. You had John Campbell and the Lance Hurd, like, jumping off sides. Like, they have settled. By the way, shout out to Cooper Mays. All-American first team right there, too. Shout out to him.
All SEC first team.
No, I thought he got All-American. He did. Yes, him and Dylan Sampson. First
Seth
team.
McLaughlin was the Remington Award winner, so he'd be first-team All-American center.
What did I say yesterday, Dan?
All SEC. First-team All SEC.
Sure?
Yeah.
You sure?
I mean, I'll double-check right now while we're talking, but
that's All-American.
Go ahead with
Either
what
way,
you're going to say.
But the settling of the offensive line. This is what, like, as it pertains, like, to the progression of the season. Those are the things right there, man, that you want to see them get better. I'll be honest with you, I did not like John Campbell's emotions, too much emotions against Vanderbilt. I thought that was a little bit too much for a team that was playing you tight at that moment on the road. So if he can check himself, I feel like more this going up to the shoe. I even got to call it that right now. We're in hate week right now. Going up to that dump in Ohio State, okay? And having the ability to control the crowd, control your emotions, because that's the thing about Ohio State. They always have one or two demons on their defensive line, and he can't get out of pocket, man. And that's, like, to me, if he's good, I feel like the rest of the offensive line is good.
The Athletic had him as an All-American.
Oh, the Athletic had him as an All-American.
I didn't see them put out their All-American list yesterday.
Does that count?
We were both right.
Respectfully?
I mean, it is, yeah.
It does?
It's not like the official, I mean, I guess they're all official. It's not the AP, like, total All-American team.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Okay.
It was the Athletic who, I'm not sure if he was first team or what, but they were both on there.
Yeah, I thought I saw the Vols tweet that out yesterday, but either way.
It is so hard to keep up with all the different publications that have different, like, there's like the coaches one, there's an AP one, there's different publications will just do their own.
Well,
different committees will do their own. Yeah, it's
that's
tricky.
why I had to ask you. Like, does that real? Is that a one?
Oh, it definitely counts. Absolutely, 100%.
But the Nico conversation, though, as far as, like, can he handle this? Well, here's the other thing, too. One, the answer is yes, in my opinion. You said the last 6 games he's been completing 68% of his passes with over 1,000 yards. The other side behind Nico is there isn't a need to have him in games, right? The ground game in this year with Dylan Sampson and the offensive line and tight ends has played a bigger part this year, and I feel like Nico has had to. As of late the second half of the season, he has delivered in those games. The one loss going to Georgia, man, you got to think, you beat Alabama, you about to beat a Kentucky team that was really fighting for it also, that played you probably harder than anybody except for Ole Miss this year as far as Kentucky's concerned. They played it right, I thought, this year. And the young fella went on the road, won against Vandy. Say what you want to about that game. It was a home game for the Vols, but they really had to go get it because Clark Lee and his defense played very, very well. They got
down
pressure on
14-0.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he fought back. So that moment right there, well, I forgot all about that. But, like, having to have all these different scenarios this year, has allowed him to be ready for this moment if you have to use them. Now, again, his biggest things that people are going to get mad at, right? What are our fan base getting mad at more than anything?
Overthrowing the deep ball.
Overthrowing the deep ball. Like, if I can hit singles and doubles and get a few runs in, that's honestly how you win these types of games.
Sure.
Like, it gets tight in playoff football. And I do hope that, like, the Vols and Coach Heupel understand that, because I didn't realize it until, like, I got to, like, the NFL. Like, oh, it is different. Like, everything will heightens. Like, the small mistakes that you feel like you can make, you can no longer make those no more. So don't get upset if he does have an overthrow. I mean, what's the chance of getting a deep ball anyway, right? Like, missing a wide open one, that's different. If you want to toss up a 50-50 ball to get the 15 yards for the DPI, all right, we can play that game too, but you also set yourself up for interceptions.
Right.
Like, let them hit them in stride, and I like the slant routes to the house more than anything as of late.
So what is plan A? What is the pathway for Tennessee offensively to have success in Columbus? If you trust the quarterback, you obviously trust your offensive line and the improvements that they've made. I think Ohio State's defensive backs against Tennessee's wide receivers, I think that's the advantage
It is.
Ohio State has when Tennessee is on offense. But how do you set up this game plan, Ramon, to say, this is plan A, this is the pathway, this is how Tennessee can pull off the upset?
Is moving the line of scrimmage first on both sides. I know that's an in-the-game type of thing. That's what both sides are going to be saying. But you do exactly as Ohio State did, Will. You turn that clock. You beat them down in the run game, and you dink and dunk your way all the way down the field. I do feel like this is a Miles Kitselman game. This is a young tight end's game for them playing close to the line of scrimmage because, again, Ohio State's got some guys as it pertains to their secondary. You can't play that risky game with them because going on the road in these types of games, man, you have DBs or linebackers that'll divert the ball and then it falls into the opposing team hands. You have to keep this on the ground. I'm looking at what Michigan did to them in the last game.
Right.
Like, they beat them up, man. A team that was less talented at this point than Ohio State, they simply bodied them. And if you can take advantage of their All-American center being out, if you can take advantage of hitting them on the edge and spreading out that defense, you do it. Make Ohio State, like, pick an issue is what I would say. Either you try to defend the box
right,
or you let the wide receivers cook out wide. Because I don't know if they've seen it like that this year in the Big Ten, as unique as this offense has been. Because they didn't play Indiana this year, did they? No.
Ohio State, yeah, they did.
They did?
Yeah.
They got, okay.
They beat them at home.
What was that score?
Ended up winning by 21 because they scored a touchdown with about a minute left.
It was late. Sure was.
And Oregon, I think, would be similar. Maybe not tempo-wise.
It's a little bit more, tempo-wise, no. I thought they out-physical them in that game, too.
Well, and that, I think, is the interesting thing. Ohio State has the number 6 run defense in college football. Against some good teams, though, teams have been able to lean on them and run against them a little bit. Oregon ran for 155 against them. Penn State, in a loss, ran for 120. Ohio State held Indiana to only 83 yards. But the Michigan game is really interesting to me because I'm just curious how much of Ohio State's struggles were just because they were playing Michigan and they don't approach that rivalry the right way, or because that's a way you can beat Ohio State if you're wearing any uniform. Michigan ran 42 times for 172. Andy Staples talked about it with us on Tuesday. They just kind of hit a lot of singles or they hit a lot of bunts, to be honest with you, until they finally leaned on them enough where the dam broke and they were able to hit a triple and able to break a big run. 42 times for 172. I mean, Davis Warren in that game was 9 of 16 for 62 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 picks.
Right.
To me, I'm curious what Tennessee's tempo looks like against Ohio State. Do you trust your offense enough to lean on Ohio State and play keep away and complement your defense? Because I think the second half against Vanderbilt would be plan A. If you can consistently move the chains in the run game and be able to stay ahead of the chains. So Vandy ran just 49 offensive snaps against Tennessee. They had the ball for 6 minutes and 11 seconds in the second half. Tennessee controlled the ball for 24 minutes in the second half against Vanderbilt. They essentially did to Vandy what Georgia did to them in the second half and specifically in that fourth quarter. Now, don't get me wrong. Vanderbilt and Ohio State are not the same class of football team, not even in the same universe, right? But if you're asking me what plan A is and where I think this Tennessee team is at its best, it's actually kind of punting on the tempo a little bit and becoming a different version of themselves that complements their defense, that allows them to be rested, allows them to be ready for the next drive. Because this team is more of a ball control, lull you to sleep, and then take a shot kind of offense than the one 2 years ago that wanted to push the tempo, wanted to score as many points as possible, and wanted to hang 50 every single game. We know what this offense is at this point. This is not a 22 offense. As you and I have talked about all season, though, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, it's not. Absolutely.
It's okay to be a different version of yourselves this year because you're winning games against good teams.
I mean, and you struck lightning in a bottle with Hendon Hooker and that group that was over there too. Like that's the other thing behind this offense. Like you had a guy that was capable and ready to understand the entirety of this offense that had the touch that you hope Nico have. And I felt like that's been the biggest knock on Nico, is expecting him to be that because he was a higher prospect coming out of college. Another thing too that I think is a slight advantage. You let me know if I'm wrong. Timing though. Time. The Vols this year, and we complaining. I saw my homie on Twitter complaining about a Big Orange Mac about the late games. The Vols have had 7. This will be the 8th this year, starting at 7 o'clock.
It's part of it.
I wonder how I'm hoping Ohio State has issues with the waiting and the sitting around and the planning for the game all day long. Yeah. That, to me, is a little small things that you somewhat incorporate into the games. Like, all right, how do you guys handle your energy all day long?
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that.
And again, 7 so far this year. We complained about it, but I feel like the seasons sometimes write those words for you, Will. You know what I'm saying? As far as I'm tired of playing the late night games. Well, now, this is the biggest primetime game the Vols have had in this last decade, if we can be honest.
It's the biggest Tennessee football game, in a really long time.
Aside from
really long
getting
time.
over the hump with Bama, like a scenario, that's different. Like the 2022 game against Bama. Like, other than like that moment, this is it, in my opinion.
Sure, and I think, going into that game, we knew it was a big game against Alabama in 2022, but it kind of became bigger once you were in it, right?
Yeah.
Like once you did
it
became a bigger moment. If Tennessee goes to Columbus and beats Ohio State, this is a bigger moment.
This is a bigger moment.
This is an even bigger step because booking a ticket to the Rose Bowl and continuing a push for a national championship.
Oh, my.
I think Tennessee is right on the cusp of teams in the playoff this year that could win it all. Tennessee at its best with that defense can absolutely go on a run to a national championship game. They 100% can. Now, it will take them showing a level of consistency, specifically in the red zone, and not fumbling the football that we have not seen a lot of this season. But if you're talking about teams that are capable with the pieces that they have and everything all in at quarterback and at defense and head coach and coaching staff, this team can absolutely do it.
Let me ask you something. Maybe I'll ask it after this break right here because I'm looking at some stuff from Ohio State and I'm trying to figure out, other than the brand, why so cocky?
Let's talk about that next. 615-737-1045. Continuing to talk college football playoff, Vols and Buckeyes. You can give your thoughts to the F&M Bank chat, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. Hope you hit the like button and subscribe to our 1045 The Zone YouTube channel while you are there. We'll continue breaking down the matchup coming up. Hey, what's going on? It is Will Bowling here for my friends at Lee Company. You hear me talk all the time about these guys, and you hear me ask the question, hey, is your HVAC system ready to keep up with winter's chill? Well, I'm here to tell you whether you are looking for an upgrade for your facility or maybe just needing maintenance before you turn the temperature up, the team at Lee Company is here to help. For over 80 years, their expert team has been here to make your life easier and keep your place of business running efficiently year-round. Available 24/7, 365. You got to call Lee Company today at 615-567-1000 or contact them online at leecompany.com. That's professional HVAC solutions for any type of facility with over 80 years of experience. Lee Company has been trusted since 1944. They're open 24/7 with 14 community locations here in Tennessee and also in Kentucky and Alabama with over 950 vehicles in their fleet. That allows them to get to you like that when you need help and when that HVAC system isn't working the way it needs to. Give them a call, 615-567-1000 or contact them online at leecompany.com. That's Lee Company, all you need. Wrapping up the first hour on this Friday morning edition of RKW. And the question we asked before the break, how much do you trust Nico Iamaleava heading into the college football playoff and into a first-round game against Ohio State? I think Ramon and I are both on the same page that we probably trust him more than the national narrative would lead you to believe. But, Ramon, you had a question about Ohio State before we went to break.
I did, man, because, again, their roster's elite. I mean, it is what it is. It's probably, top 5 in all college football?
Yeah, I think it's probably top 1.
It's top 1.
Just on paper.
Yeah, on paper.
Which, obviously,
of course.
take that for what it's worth.
I mean, and it matters, right? Because they got some stud wide receivers, running backs, I'm sure is legit. They're going to probably have a tackle, offensive lineman, drafted tight end. This is what they do, right? But why do we have to trust Will Howard? What's the narrative behind him? Because if you look at his pathway to this point, I mean, of course, 2020, he's just now getting to a competent passing completion rate this year. Now, of course, better teammates make you better, too. I think he's, this year in 2024, he completed 72% of his passes. Last year, 61%. The year before that, where he's playing as far as I'll go, in 2022, he was only completing 59.8% of his passes.
Yeah, and at Kansas State, where he spent 4 years.
And not just that, but he's been closer to double-digit sacks more years than, interceptions than none. In his freshman year in 2020, he had 10. He had 8 touchdowns and 10. And then, of course, the 22, he has 15 and 4. Last year at Kansas State, is where he's at. Yep, 24 touchdowns and 10 interceptions.
Right.
So he's had a turnover problem. Why? It's Ohio State.
He had that problem against Michigan, too. It's one of the reasons why they lost.
They did. And that's where, to me, getting to him, making him stay inside the pocket and feel pressure, that, to me, is one of the X factors for this Vols team.
I completely agree. I think nationally and the kind of the lazy narrative is going to be about Will Howard's price tag and how much it took Ohio State to get him from Kansas State. But if you really evaluate him and what he has or hasn't done, I mean, the Oregon game was good for Will Howard. Other than the last play of the game where he thought he had more time and just goes down, right? Which Nico did as well against Arkansas, right?
Yeah, sure did.
He was 28 of 35 for 326 and 2 touchdowns. That was a different offensive line on October the 12th when Ohio State went to Autzen Stadium than the one that Tennessee will be playing against. And that, to me, we're talking about All-American centers, and the Athletic has Cooper Mays as one, absolutely. But Seth McLaughlin won the Remington Award last night as the best center in college football. He popped his Achilles. He's done for the year. Yeah. Tennessee does not have to go up against Seth McLaughlin. I think he would be one of the most important players in this game if he was playing in blocking Omari Thomas and Omar Norman-Lott in the interior of Tennessee's defensive line. But against Michigan, Will Howard goes 19 of 33 for 175, a touchdown and 2 picks. Against Indiana, Ohio State wins that game 38-15, 22 of 26, very efficient, 201 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. I think people are scared of Will Howard and the Ohio State passing game more because of who he's throwing to than because of who he is. Because Emeka Egbuka and Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, that's one of the top 2 or 3 wide receiver trios in all of college football.
They're on a run right now, wide receivers.
They are outstanding. they are outstanding.
They are on a run and have been on one, man. These young men right here can go to the league probably after 2 years is the way you look at it.
And that is why I'm really fascinated with Ricky Gibson and Jermon McCoy against those guys. I just, and Boo Carter for the 3 of them. I just have so much respect for those 3 Tennessee defensive backs this year. I'm just not scared of them going up against anybody.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm overconfident. Maybe I should be. I just think those 3 corners, Jermon McCoy, Ricky Gibson, and Boo Carter, have earned our trust against the top level of wide receivers in the SEC. I mean, this is a pretty high level, but they've done it all year.
You know all it is, though, too, is just getting used to it. That's what we are as a fan base more than anything. That's what the Vols fan base is. You're not used to seeing, you used to Deion Grant and Al Wilson and Leonard Little. Those names resonate because you saw them do that over time. And before then, the team was good enough to where those good players, we're good. Ohio State lives that life every single day.
100%.
We're
at most
good.
Positions.
At most positions. And the issues is, I guess the anxiety of asking that question is, well, are we good? Yeah. Right now what you got to realize, excluding no one at this point,
Right.
because SMU deserves to be in it. Like, it's good on good. You might look at Boise, maybe try to figure out what Indiana is like, and even the Vols, right?
Everybody's strengths can beat you on any given day.
100%.
Especially because there's probably not one elite team in college football this season. I don't even think Oregon's that level, to be totally honest
Can
with
be
you.
beaten.
Yeah.
Can be beaten, is what you're saying. 100%.
There's not a
yes.
2019 LSU.
No.
In these college football playoffs. There's not a 2022 Georgia
Now,
in this field.
Oregon's undefeated.
They are.
Georgia's reigning, right? Like, we know who they are. They've been to the show before.
100%.
But to your point, yes, everybody got a shot at this one this year.
Yep. Let's go to Thomas in Clarksville. He is an Ohio State fan. Checking in with us this morning. What's up, Thomas?
Thomas?
Hey, morning, guys. Ramon, you're killing me, man. I've been here since 94 after the Army. I've had, 6 kids, 4 of them born here. So we got a big house divided down here, man. I tried brainwashing my kids as much as possible about the Buckeyes. And 2 of them it worked, but 4 of them, they're going to be wearing orange next Saturday. Which is
All
cool,
right.
Hey,
We
now.
played each other one time in our history, 100-something years of football for both schools.
Yeah,
And we watched Peyton beat Eddie in the Citrus Bowl in the rain.
that's right.
And that's a travesty, man. I'm so excited about it. It's not just y'all playing with house money. Usually, I know a couple years ago with CJ, we lost to Michigan and then damn near beat Georgia in the playoffs. We still got in. That was a house money game. So everybody's playing with house money if you're not Oregon or you haven't won your conference championship, because now you've lost a game or two and you're in the playoffs. Now, I'm not going to say the weather's going to hurt y'all because I live here. It's cold here too. We haven't played in Ohio Stadium in December ever. This is going to be the first time we've had a December game in that stadium, let alone at night. So no one knows how it's going to go. It'll be a cool atmosphere. But as far as the teams go, losing McLaughlin hurt, but, he took over for a guy who's got like 25 starts. Yeah. Our left tackle, I think, kind of hurts us a little more because our backup there was a little less experienced.
Right.
But as far as team matchups, man, I know Big Ten versus SEC, blah, blah, blah. We do technically have the number 1 defense in the country.
Yep.
And if we could put our defense out there for offense, we'd have killed Michigan. They scored that touchdown because they got it on the 3-yard line when Howard played his worst game of the year.
Yeah.
We missed 2 field goals. You know what I mean? So it's not like they drove it down our throat and scored that touchdown. They started at the 3-yard line. Then we took 2 touchdowns from them on a goal line stand and an INT. Our defense was so hyped up, we played flag football after the game was over.
You did.
Y'all going to have a challenge now. Everybody's playing with house money. We got a little bit of a chip on our shoulder because everybody is so venomous on Ryan Day and Hartline and Chip Kelly and everybody. And it's just, y'all were, when we played y'all in 90, I think it was 95 with Peyton, y'all were going through a stretch where Peyton couldn't beat Florida. It was like a mental thing with Fulmer and Peyton.
Unfortunately.
What?
We lost Thomas, but we do need to move on. We got to get a break in here.
Well, my favorite thing he said was if we put defense in on offense, we'd have been winning the game. Hell, if I had feet for hands, I'd be a hell of a soccer player.
Hey, between that and the flag
Thomas. We appreciate
football,
you.
Thomas, that was an awesome call, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah. I just think that if we're talking weather, Tennessee's roster is better built for cold than Ohio State is. That's all I'm saying. I don't think that's that crazy of a take. To say that the Ohio State team with all this talent on the perimeter, I think Tennessee can win a rock fight better than Ohio State can if things materialize the way they did for Ohio State against Michigan. 615-737-1045 is our number. We'll shift gears to Titans talk when we come back. What is one thing the Titans need to do to get its offense going again on Sunday? Nick Holtz talked about the improvements Will Levis has been making. We'll dive into that next. Hey, it's Will Bowling. I want to update you with exciting news from my friends at Brentwood Hearing Center. Their team of doctors of audiology are always committed to providing patients with the most recent hearing device technology. Their leadership team recently attended the launch of a revolutionary hearing aid, the Phonak Sphere, which is dedicated to helping patients hear well in situations when there's a lot of background noise. With a computer chip completely dedicated to address speech and noise, it's going to help you when you're out to dinner at a noisy restaurant. Maybe you've been visiting with friends or coworkers at a holiday party over the last couple of weeks, and you're realizing that you can't hear the person a couple feet away from you because there is so much conversation going on around you. Well, the Phonak Sphere can help, and Brentwood Hearing Center can help. They're doctors of audiology. They will help you if you just give them a call, 615-377-0420, or visit them online at BrentwoodHearingCenter.com. That's 615-377-0420. Brentwood Hearing Center, better hearing, better life.
What's going on? 702, 703 now from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Thursday Night Football. It's the kind of game you try to convince yourself in the summer that you would be happy with. The Rams beat the 49ers 12-6. Cooper Kupp held to 0 catches, while Deebo Samuel caught 3 for 116 yards. Rams improved to 8-6 while still on the outside looking in at the NFC playoffs. Titans injury report. Got a couple guys back on the field. Tyler Boyd, Nick Folk, Jeffrey Simmons and Tavondre Sweat were both also back on the field. Otis Reese went from limited on Wednesday to not practicing on Thursday. J.C. Latham also added to the injury report with a hip injury that limited him in practice. Another veteran who was unhappy with their circumstances after the Devondre Campbell situation last night, wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. being waived by the Dolphins. Both parties agreed the separation would be beneficial on the year. OBJ has 9 catches for 55 yards. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Seven a.m. and hour number 2, getting started on a Friday morning. RKW, Ramon Foster, Will Bowling, Robert Walsh, Kayla with the morning off. She is jet setting down to a cruise. Wish her all the best. Lots of drinks with umbrellas in them. 615-737-1045 is our number. We'll be joined in 15 minutes by VolQuest's Brent Hubbs. Voice the Titans, Mike Keith, still to come at 8:20, and Steven Godfrey of Split Zone Duo in the 4th hour this morning. Ramon, when you look at Titans and Bengals this Sunday, and an offense that scored 6 points over the weekend, what is the one thing the Titans need to do to get its offense going again against Cincinnati?
What do they need to do? Not start off drives with penalties. That right there has been I'm talking about a dagger to this team as of late, man. The negativity that comes from starting a drive or getting the first down and then a penalty right behind it, like they got to play cleaner ball, because one of the things that they have going against them, like the roster's just not there to overcome a lot of those obstacles right there. That, to me, is more problematic than anything else going on. Your quarterback's playing fine, not playing great. So it's those types of things. And if the run game is working, you can't have no holding calls. You can't have any negativity that brings it to you. So for me, that's how you score 6 points, right? Is you have 1st and 15, and then they light it up against you because your rookie left tackle, I feel like, is somewhat hit a wall, and your right tackle got problems that you can't get your tight ends or wide receivers or running backs out because you got a chip for him. You're too handcuffed to have those problems pre-snap. That's where I am. Yeah,
the mistakes they're making, they're not good enough to overcome.
No, they're not. And it's okay to say that, but you can also power through that. You can execute better than others. You can not create negativity for your team to allow you to be in games and beat them, because that's what Jacksonville did for the most part. Jacksonville minimized penalties and took advantage of opportunities you given them when you had a breakdown in your defense.
I think the Titans might be able to use the middle of the field a little bit against Cincinnati. I just think there will be open receivers. Will Levis has to find the open man. That sounds really simple. Cincinnati, 29th in points against this season, 26th in yards against, the number 27 passing offense in the NFL, the number 23 number 27, pass defense in the NFL, number 23 against the run. Josh Newton and Cam Taylor-Britt have struggled in that defensive backfield. Geno Stone, according to Pro Football Focus, ranked as the number 87 safety out of 92. Not a normal season for Von Bell, the Tennessee native and Ohio State Buckeye, who has had a great career, has not been up to his level this year either. Yeah. It's Trey Hendrickson being the game record that you just have to take away. And you talk about avoiding the negative plays early in drives and on 1st and 2nd downs. Trey Hendrickson can wreck all of the bad that Cincinnati has defensively because you are so bad at blocking guys like him.
Yeah, no, seriously. That's where you don't want to take away from the offense. I just said a second ago, like, I don't want all the focus to be on him. Like, JC's got to do his job. He's still a pro, right, as it pertains to his struggles he's had as of the last couple of weeks. And his struggles have been, 1 sack a game. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the biggest issue that he has right now is cleaning it up. It's the worst week to have a guy that's got a motor, though. I know that much because he's going to bring it play in and play out, Trey Hendrickson. The thing about Cincinnati to me is looking at their losses. They've lost to rookie quarterbacks. They've lost to bad teams. They opened up the season losing to the New England Patriots.
They've given up 30-plus points 6 times this year.
They have. And the Dallas Cowboys team, they barely beat. I ain't going to say barely beat. They beat them 27-20.
On a special teams gaffe that, Titans have had their fair share of those as well. So
was that part of it, too.
Yeah.
I'm mentioning all of those things, and here's the biggest issue that they have this weekend. They got to stop that offense. This team does.
100%. 100%.
One thing you can't say is that Jamar Chase is a bad wide receiver. No, absolutely not.
I think this year it's him and Justin Jefferson are the top 2 receivers in football.
Easily. Take
your pick on either one, and I can listen to arguments on either one of them.
Yeah, when he come down here with that diamond-studded grill in his mouth, all right, just try to minimize him is all you can do at that point right there.
Right.
And the other part for me is the defensive line has to be smart this week. Joe Burrow's ability to manipulate the pocket this year is, and even Coach Brian Callahan brought that up too, he is moving up and around the pocket. You cannot, to that point about penalties, get a late hit because the defense is trying to win the game on his side only. Like the late unsportsmanlike conducts this week cannot be tolerated because here's the other part behind Joe Burrow. He's a protected item in the NFL. He's one of them quarterbacks that if you touch him, what's going to happen after that?
Well, yeah, you're going to get a flag and you're going to get a fine. And, honestly, the receivers are protected as well.
This group?
For Cincinnati. Like, this is the kind of group, the Jarvis Brownlee PI against Justin Jefferson that was total hogwash.
You know him.
80 years old.
You know him.
100%. It's the same way. You breathe on Jamar Chase, he's going to have a level of protection that a lot of guys don't have because he's earned it.
Because he's earned
part of it. You get those players, you draft those players, Titans, you're going to get the same privilege.
And I believe him to be open more than he's not, right? That's what they're giving him the benefit of. And that's where this defense this weekend for the Titans, like, if Joe's moving up, man, make it clean. Lay him on the ground because extending drives, you don't have enough guys to sustain that over the course of the game.
Q makes the point of the F and Bang chat on YouTube. This might be another weather game.
It is.
Might be our rain game. I know that's in the forecast as well. Would help the Titans. I think they're better equipped to just play an ugly rain game. Would help neutralize the Cincinnati offense. But at this point, any factor that slows down the Titans offense also, besides themselves, which the Titans already slow down themselves within this as well, we'll see. It'll be interesting.
I'll be fascinated to see how Coach Brian Callahan handles this weekend also. As far as, it's teacher and student this upcoming weekend.
Big stage for him.
It is a big stage for him. I wonder, will he pull out all his tricks? And we ask questions after the game. Where in the hell has this been at then, Coach?
Well, and I think not just because of who he's playing against, but also because your offense only scored 6 points last week. Yeah. It's time to open it up. I want to see the whole playbook.
They got to at this point, too. And I want to see Tyler Boyd a little bit more.
Okay.
And he said it this upcoming weekend. He chose Brian Callahan. He could have stayed in Cincinnati.
Nick Holtz yesterday was asked about where Will Levis is progressing, where he is improving going into this matchup. Interesting answer from the Titans OC at the podium.
You see Will, and even there's a calmness to what he's played with compared to earlier in the season. So, we've had some clips we showed of him earlier in the season in the pocket, and even right after he came back from the injury of kind of his feet and kind of where his eyes were and things like that. And you watched last week, other than, a handful of plays where we missed it, you saw kind of his, he's there to 1, to 2, to 3, going through it, less frantic in the pocket, less running into sacks. So those things, there's a lot of progress there, and he's really taking care of the ball well, or much better than he did before. So those things have all been really good progress for him. And I think he's kind of passing the ball better and not really just forcing it to guys. I think a lot of times earlier in the season, we made some mistakes of, hey, we think this is going to be here, this is that, and he really locking him in on things. And I think he's now seeing the bigger picture better for the most part.
Evaluate him after Sunday when he didn't make mistakes but didn't get in the end zone either.
Yeah, I think he was offensively, we were all as frustrated. I think we left that game going, I can't believe we played that way, or I can't believe we left all those points out there on the field. It was, Will was disappointing. You kind of walked in that locker room and it was like, how did we just do that? You know what I mean? Offensively, to score 6 points and do those kind of things. So, I started, go again. Sorry.
I said, how can you maybe evaluate him when you didn't make mistakes, but you obviously, like you said, you didn't score.
You kind of come back here on Monday and you see so many good things that he did do well. You know what I mean? He handled some protection. The one thing he's really grown in is protections. And so they were giving us some kind of different fronts and different looks. And he was really kind of getting up there and handling the protection, moving the points, things like that, which is a really good growth for him. And then he had some really nice throws in there. That deep cross to Calvin in the fourth quarter that started that drive that got down to the red zone. He really played well in those parts. Just kind of touch and go a little bit.
That was Titans OC Nick Holtz yesterday. All right, big test to see if he can do it again in terms of handling the protection and knowing where he is in the pocket. Here's Trey Hendrickson, 12 and a half sacks coming to town.
Man, I need somebody to believe in me the way Nick Holtz does on Will Levis.
I believe in you, Ramon.
What do you think I've been talking to your ear? I wish I had some.
You're in a great situation.
Imagine getting in the car with Keisha. Wow. Imagine getting it and being like, I wish I had somebody ride for me like that. I wish I had somebody on my side. Who do you think you are? Wait till you by yourself to say something like that. Crazy as hell.
Coming up next, you got the ultimate hype man who happens to be your brother by the name of Ron Slade. You're out here saying, I wish people believe that.
You do!
I know Slay's in the chat this morning. Slay, I'm sorry that your appreciation of Ramon Foster, Savage, goes unnoticed. That's unbelievable.
Yo, wrong.
Coming up next, Brent Hubbs of All Quested on 3 joins us. We'll talk Tennessee transfer portal, playoffs, hit it all with Brent after this.
Hey, it's Kayla with O'Charlie's, born right here in Nashville back in 1971. Have been serving up Southern hospitality since that time. They've got several locations. If you are wondering, they do have those around Middle Tennessee. You can look those up. I've got one right down the street in Bellevue, as a matter of fact. So if you are thinking about this time of the week, we have hit Thursday. Maybe it's been a tough week. You're ready to kick your shoes off and maybe have a drink or two. They've got their happy hour going on all week. That is going to be the home of the $5 Marg-O-Rita and a $5 cocktail. And you can also accompany that with a nice $5 appetizer. That happy hour is going to run every day, as a matter of fact, 3 to 6 p.m. Also, they've got one from 9 to close. So go ahead and treat yourself on this Thursday. Remember, you can always get more flavor, more choices, and more value all day, every day at O'Charlie's.
RKW 104.5 The Zone continues on this frigid Friday in Middle Tennessee. Ramon Foster and Will Bowling, Kayla with the morning off. Robert Walsh, our producer, joined by VolQuest and On Three's Brent Hubbs with lots to discuss. I feel like I say this every week. I feel like it's also always true. Brent, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. Hope you guys are well this morning.
We are good. What has it been like for you guys just juggling? Transfer portal is open. Tennessee is trying to schedule visitors. There's a playoff game to be played. I can't imagine what it's like being just boots on the ground covering this team, and I can't imagine what it's like for a coaching staff right now, Brent, that's got to manage a lot of moving parts at this moment.
Yeah, I mean, for the coaching staff, and look, they're all making lots of money, right? $200,000 a week. I mean, they're in Ramon Foster's salary land.
That's right.
It's one of those things where it's hard. I mean, it is. It's really hard right now. The calendar is all jacked up. There's not anything you can do about the calendar. So you're sitting there. I mean, what you're doing is you're trying to protect your roster and make sure you keep the guys you need to keep and you want to keep. You know, and try to figure out who am I going to lose and what position do I need to replace or do I need to add to. And then you're just trying to make sure nobody leaves you between now and next Friday when you get on a plane to go to Columbus, Ohio. And that's the crazy part is like next Wednesday, if somebody came to you and said, hey, Coach, I think I'm going to the portal. I'm going to leave. I'm not going to play. There's nothing you can do about it. And that's the maddening part for coaches right now is just that part that you're having to deal with while you're getting ready for the biggest game of the year. So, it's fluid. It's ever changing. If you're covering it, you know, yesterday Tennessee appeared to be bringing in an offensive lineman from Texas A&M and TJ Shanahan, and that visit was set up. And then about 45 minutes later, that visit was off. And that's the world of the transfer portal. Things happen fast, and they're always changing. It seems like clearly Tennessee's looking for an interior offensive lineman or two in the portal, and that appears to be where the focus is right now. We'll see what else comes out of that here in the next week or so in terms of visitors.
So, Brent, Tennessee has had 7 players enter the transfer portal, a couple of, really 3 wide receivers. You talk about Caleb Webb and Chaz Nimrod and Nathan Leacock. Some other guys that haven't played quite as much as maybe Nimrod has specifically. Is it decided that those players are not available for Ohio State? Is there anyone in the portal or planning to enter the portal that could still make the trip to Columbus?
Well, I think they can all make it if they wanted to. I don't think that they're going to. I don't think that they want to. And listen, Josh Heupel does not have a hard, fast rule that says if you go in the portal, you can't continue. But it doesn't appear like any of those guys who have gone into the portal are going to continue with the team. They've moved on. I mean, Jalen Smith was on a visit yesterday, I think, to Mississippi State. We'll see where Nimrod and Caleb Webb ultimately end up visiting, and Laycock went in yesterday. So I don't anticipate any of the 7 scholarship guys who have gone into the portal. I don't anticipate them being with the team in Columbus, Ohio.
Brent Hubbs with us of our question on 3 Hubs. I can't wrap my head around how I grind all year long and not get the payoff of this game. But I guess those guys that jump in probably aren't guys that are playing or contributing a whole lot, though, are they, in the portal right now?
I mean, Jalen Smith was averaging about 25 or 26 snaps a game since the Florida game on the rest of the year. And I think that's the hard part. You could hear that in Coach Heupel's voice on Sunday when he talked to the media after the playoff brackets were announced. And, that was his point, Ramon. As a competitor, just to put in all that work to get to this point and then people deciding they don't want to wait another week. I mean, or 2 weeks or whatever. I mean, remember, whoever's in the playoff, as long as you keep playing, the portal window doesn't stay open. But when your season ends, there's a 5-day window for you that you can go in the portal. And in other words, if you play the national championship game on the 20th of January, there's a 5-day window for you after that game that you could go into the portal if you wanted to. But, everybody's worried about their spot. Everybody's worried about their next destination more so than kind of where they are in that moment. And, you got a lot of people with outside influences. I talked to a kid who is in the portal who was rumored to be Tennessee's out on the West Coast. And I talked to him about whether or not he might visit Tennessee. And basically he told me he was waiting for his representative to tell him what schools he was going to go on visits to.
What?
Yeah, I mean, he was getting directed to these places to visit, and it's got some craziness to it right now. But the biggest thing to me, Ramon, is where you're at. I mean, you've been working out with this team since January, and you get to this point and you're done. That just seems kind of crazy to me as a competitor. But I didn't play the sport. I'm not in their shoes. So I don't want to criticize anybody too much because I don't know everybody's personal situations, in every case.
Hubbs, there's so many more questions I have off of that. I told you we need to sit down and do a podcast because I don't know what we're gonna call it.
Because both you guys have so much free time, right?
Yeah, exactly. Aside from that, I want to ask more about that. But aside from that, I guess the issue that's come up that nobody's really talking about is, okay, over this course of bowl season, you get a lot of practice. You get a lot of team bonding. There's a lot of gifts being given out too, but the Vols don't get that with this college football playoff setup right now. Do you what are coaches doing it if the Vols lose or Ohio State lose the 21st? There's no more practices to where coaches use this to get better going into the next year. Has that been discussed by Coach Heupel and his staff as far as, this isn't a bowl trip. This is a game.
That's right. And welcome to the college football playoff. When it's over, it's over. And if you lose a week from Saturday, then you're home for Christmas and you don't come back to town until school starts January the 20th. And it's different. And that's part of it. And, here's the interesting thing, Ramon, when you talk about bowl practices. This next week will be game week prep, okay? Now, they'll do some extra practice time for some young players because you're going to have 15 midterm enrollees show up here this weekend and first of next week to go through practice, guys who are just graduating high school. They'll get them off to the side. They'll get some young players who are redshirting, and they'll do young player development on some days late, after practice. And if you think about it in a bowl deal, that would have been the case anyway. Then you would break for Christmas, essentially, around the 22nd or 23rd, which is basically when you're going to play your playoff game. And then you go to a bowl site, and you'd have 4 practices there, and then you'd play a bowl game. So the reality is you're probably missing 5 or 6 practices at most. Yeah. So it's not like you're losing an entire spring. But it is different because, there is no, quote, reward. It's play, and if you win, you keep playing, and if you lose, you go to the house. And that's the way that the college football playoff works, and it's only going to continue to be that way moving forward. So it is different. It hasn't been discussed because, all the focus right now is on trying to figure out how to win in Columbus, Ohio, and nobody at that point is thinking about, well, this could be the last one or this could be it. That's just not the mindset anybody approaches with.
Right.
Brent Hubbs of All Quested on 3 joining us this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Brent, when you look at this Tennessee team and the way it is built for December outdoor football in the North, randomly, nationally, I think the discussion, Brent, is that Tennessee is in South Florida and they've never had a practice below 40 degrees before is kind of odd, some of the narratives around that. But I feel like, Brent, that this Tennessee team is built well for cold weather football. And you're looking at an Ohio State team that just lost to Michigan, right? That played a rock fight and played cold weather football and beat them at it. Is that fair to say that Tennessee is pretty well equipped for having to play in cold weather outdoors this time of year, just the way they are built?
Well, I hope they're built a hell of a lot better than I am for cold weather. So
I'm with you.
But I think, listen, you got to line up and run the football.
Right.
And so if you look at it from that standpoint, Tennessee's not built around 400-yard passing games and 5 touchdown passes, and they want to do those things. They need to have explosive plays, and you can have those in cold weather. But I think when most people think cold weather, they think, heavy dose of run game and that type of stuff. And Tennessee's built around running the football. Defensively, they're built around stopping the run, just like Ohio State is. I think take the weather out of it, you look at this matchup, and it's good on good in a lot of places. And I think that's what makes this matchup really intriguing. Now, I think the question is, how do you handle the cold mentally? How do you approach it as a coach? Do you talk about it a whole lot? I mean, you know what I'm saying? What's the deal? Because Tennessee's not in, the tropics, but they haven't played in a lot of 20-degree weather games in a while. It's been a while since they've had one this cold. So I think once you start playing, it's playing football. And Ramon would know this a whole lot better than me. I mean, he went from Tennessee and then played in Pittsburgh when it's, a little bit colder up there that you had to deal with. You just have to adjust to it. And look, you go play. I mean, this is the biggest game that these guys have played in their college football careers. So you hope that they don't let the weather bother them and it be a case like that. And I don't think that they will, but you never know till you know. I mean, I think it's different. A lot of Tennessee fans talk about, well, the last real cold game, and I remember, was the Cotton Bowl after the 2000 season. Well, that was a bowl game, and I don't know how many guys wanted to be there.
Right.
And I know a lot of them didn't want to play in a game that kicked off at 10 a.m. Central Time either. I mean, it was one of those deals where you saw them walk out on the turf, and you're like, all right, this is going to be a long day here, because they didn't want to be there, and Kansas State wanted to be there. It had nothing to do really with the cold weather. The cold weather became a factor when you didn't want to play. Well, how do you not want to play in a college football playoff game? Line up and go play. No excuses. And I think that's been Josh Heupel's mindset and mental approach to his team throughout this whole process here the last couple of weeks.
Man, my freshman year at Tennessee, my dad and I made the trip to Missouri for that Tennessee-Missouri game that season. That was, I think, in the 20s at kickoff. It felt like it was negative 20, Brent, because I'm like you. Anything under 40 is way too cold. We had Austin on here Tuesday saying like, 30 for me, it's not really that bad for me unless there's wind. And Brent, like, is Austin just built that differently? Like, what are we doing here? Anything below 40 degrees is too cold.
He's never sat outside for 4 hours. He doesn't know. His idea of cold is walk into the stadium, and get in the press box, and get some hot chocolate when the windows are closed. I'm going to be two booths down, and the garage door is going to be open, and the wind's going to be cutting through there. Like, it's different, Now the thing about Missouri in that game was, one, it was at night, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And two, with that open end where the rocks are there, man, the wind just blows.
Oh.
It just constantly roars through there. The word is it's pretty windy off the river in Columbus. So we'll see what the wind looks like. But, yeah, I mean, I'm soft. I know I'm soft. I know where I'm at. I mean, I'm going to dress like the Michelin tire man. I'll have on so much gear I can't do it. But, hey, I'm excited about it. It's a college football playoff game. I've never covered one. Let's go see what happens. Put the ball down and play. It should be a heck of a lot of fun.
That's what I'm talking about, Hubs, man. Ain't never been soft out here, man.
No. Listen, I'll wear a long sleeve T-shirt when it's 90 degrees outside in the summertime. Okay? I am soft when it comes to weather. I'm not hiding behind anything, so I'm not pulling it well. I mean, really, if it's no wind, it's not really that bad.
Crazy.
It's cold.
Crazy.
It's cold, what it is.
Hey, speaking of crazy, man, yesterday it was big news out of Carolina. Bill Belichick accepting that job. I know it really doesn't affect us directly, but what I do, I know we're recruiting. And that's where I kind of want to go. You got a goat of a coach coming in real quick, right? However long he's there, he's talking about structuring this thing to be a pipeline to the NFL and just the way they're going to go about it. I mean, I know a lot of teams already have GMs. They got, salaries and salary caps and roster management and stuff like that. How much do you think a guy like him is going to change just the operation of what college football is? Not the game, right, but the operation of what's business. Because for a guy that's been alleged to be a cheater as far as, all the gates they've had.
All the gates
they've had. Like, he can tamper. You just told us this morning that a kid was supposed to come to Knoxville for a trip, and he ended it. So tampering to him, like, do we see more of Lane Jr., essentially is what I'm saying now. Like, what's going to happen moving forward?
Well, here's where it's going to be fascinating for me. I think it's a great question and a great topic. One, what is an NFL model in the college game? Okay, because there is no salary cap.
Right.
There is no multi-year contracts. Okay, Bill. Here's where Bill Belichick's at. He's used to going and finding a guy on the third day of the draft, getting him on a rookie contract that's not real big, and then he's going to ride that guy for 3 years, and then if they don't need him, they let him go to free agency, and he goes breaks the bank somewhere else, or they pay the guy. Well, here's what happens in college football. Okay, you play college football your freshman year, and you might have, I don't know, let's call him a receiver. Let's say you have 10 catches, and you decide that you're more valuable than what than what you're getting paid. So you want another $150,000 after having a 10-catch season. Somebody going to walk in and tell Bill Belichick that? Is he going to go, well, okay, but somebody might pay that guy, okay? I mean, the challenge for NFL guys in bringing the model here is there's a lot of similarities. There really is, but there are a couple of major differences. One, in college athletics, you're a free agent 365 days a year, every day you're in college. You're always a free agent, always. You don't lock anybody up in your roster and say, hey, we're good with that guy for the next 2 years or the next 3 years. No. It doesn't work that way. You're always a free agent. Two, there is no salary cap. The cap is what somebody's willing to pay somebody. And that part is different. Now, they can structure it to say, hey, we're going to pay, this position more than we pay other positions. That's what a lot of teams are doing around the country anyway. The difference is there might be one school out there willing to pay a lot more money than you're willing to pay for a player in the portal. The challenge for college coaches is the word no. And I've said that for a while, but that's the challenge. When a guy says, you know what, I need more money, and you look at him and go, I don't think you're worth that much money because we don't have that money. We have a de facto cap because it's not monopoly money. And I'm going to let you walk, even though in my heart of hearts, I don't want to let anybody walk because I want to build up as much talent as I can have. You can't do that. Okay? I mean, Tennessee's defensive line this year is an exception, not the rule. The fact that they went 13 deep, you're probably not going to see that again. Okay? Because the reality is they got everybody back last year. They're going to lose some guys probably. I mean, I think that's just natural at some of those positions. And so I think the challenge for Belichick is understanding the difference in the two worlds. You can say, hey, it's going to be a pipeline. Everybody thinks that. Everybody has a de facto GM. Now, is his GM going to come in and go, okay, Coach Belichick, here's the roster I've assembled for you. Go coach it. Right?
Right.
I mean, in the college game, that's hard. Imagine, Ramon, when you were there, Gary Wyatt, God rest his soul, comes in to Philip Fulmer and said, hey, I've assembled your roster, Coach. Here's what we put together for you. Go coach it. Yeah. It's hard for college coaches to imagine that world and say, wait a minute, no. You're not picking my roster for me. I will go out and we will get the roster we want to get. Is a GM going to have that much power, or is a GM just going to manage things? A lot of GMs, de facto GMs who don't have the title, are just managing things for coaches. You know what I'm saying? And this, that, and the other. So I think it's going to be fascinating to watch how he adapts to the game. How willing is he to recruit? What's his reaction going to be when a guy who's not proven anything wants more, either to come there or wants more after their first year? I think it's going to be really interesting to see because it is different than what he's used to, even though he doesn't really probably recognize or understand those differences right now.
Brent Hubbs of VolQuest and On3 joins us Fridays here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Brent, we are looking forward to a playoff eve visit with you next week, sir. It'll be here before we know it.
I will be, I'll still be in Knoxville. I won't have my scarf and all my base layers on at that point. So I'll be ready to go next Friday morning. Should be fun, guys.
Love it. Thank you, Brent. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Hubbs.
All right, there's Brent Hubbs with us this morning. Huge, I think, discussion we could still have about the Belichick stuff because I think we have only really scratched the surface of all the things you can dive into and break down about why that will or won't work and the differences, I think, between the NFL and college football that he's going to have to deal with that I think are really interesting. Brent Hubbs brought to you by Ascend Federal Credit Union, your financial partner for every stage of life. Appreciate him here on this Friday morning. Coming up next, there is something happening in the NFL this weekend that has only happened 4 times in the last 10 years, and it's going to happen twice this weekend alone. I got that for you coming up next. Hey, it's Will Bowling. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance was established in 1926 and is the largest and most comprehensive orthopedic practice in Tennessee. Whether you have got a high school athlete in your family, or maybe you're just an adult that has relived the glory days a little bit too aggressively, right? We've all been there, whether it's kickball, softball, soccer, whatever it is. And yeah, those joints, those hamstrings, the muscles, that they don't work as well as they used to. I want to tell you about Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance and their sports performance training, a specialized program designed to enhance athletic performance and provide tailored training solutions for athletes at all levels. They've got access to sports medicine and performance, physical therapy, if that's what you need. Maybe it's just a nutrition plan, making sure you feel your best. You're taking care of all of those things that make you feel 100%. Personalized rehabilitation plans to enhance mobility, reduce pain, and improve overall physical function for patients recovering from injuries or surgeries. These are the folks that I trust. They're going to get you back to feeling your best at the level that elite athletes do, because they're the team orthopedic physicians for elite athletes at the NFL level, the college level, the high school level. And Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance, TOA, has 29 locations throughout Tennessee. Check them out online, TOA.com, with 29 locations throughout Tennessee, 11 orthopedic urgent care locations with walk-in availability. That's Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance, online at TOA.com. It's RKW 104.5 The Zone, wrapping up the first half already on a fast-moving Friday morning show. We got Mike Keith coming up in a half hour. Steven Godfrey talks college football with us at 9:20. Ramon, over the last 10 NFL seasons, there have been 4 games between teams with 10-plus wins in Week 15 or earlier. We get 2 this weekend.
10 wins or more?
I'll run through it again. There have been 4 games between teams with 10 wins or more in Week 15 or earlier.
Wow.
We get 2 this weekend. Bills, Lions, Steelers, Eagles. Interesting trend in those games, which you will enjoy.
Whoa.
Each of those thank you.
He's just smile and wave, buddy. Just smile and wave.
Each of those games.
I will.
Each of those games was decided by 3 or fewer points, and the road team has won all of them.
I told y'all yesterday.
So teams over the last 10 seasons, when both teams have 10 wins and it's Week 15 or earlier, the road teams won all 4 of those games in the last 10 years. Bills at Lions, Steelers at Eagles. That's good news for your former employer.
100%. That's the reason I picked them on my Thursday 3. I ain't just out here throwing darts at a board. I ain't just out here.
You might have been last year, but you learned from your shortcomings.
You remember when I went 10-2? My first year, one of the Vols, I got mocked nationally for that. 10-2? Tennessee Vols going, and now look at us. We up, y'all down, baby.
Whatever.
But no, seriously though, that game's gonna be physical. It's hard to play in Philadelphia. Sometimes people be asking, like reporters, what's your guys' problem when you go to the West Coast, or you can't win in this? I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I wish we as athletes had answers to those questions, but you just don't. But what I do know is this: I gave a little stat line yesterday. Russell Wilson has never lost to the Eagles at all. He's 6-0 against them. So that stat may hold true this weekend.
Sure.
Now, of course, they got to play the game. George Pickens, I don't think is playing.
Yeah,
but
right.
they also didn't play last week either. They beat the Browns. So we'll see how it goes this upcoming weekend. But 2 10-win teams, that's nuts.
So the last time the Steelers beat the Eagles, it was October 24th, 1965.
Damn!
Mike Nixon was the head coach.
Almost spit my
Pittsburgh.
coffee out.
That was Pittsburgh's first win of the season that year. They were 1-5 at that point. That game was played in a place I have broadcasted. That was in Franklin Field in Philadelphia. That's where the Penn Relays are.
Yeah,
that have been over 100 years. Penn Relays, one of the coolest track meets literally in the world.
One of the biggest, right?
Yeah, it's so much fun. I've gotten to broadcast that the last 3 years, and Franklin Field is it's like Wrigley Field in Philadelphia.
Absolutely.
It's like an equivalent of like a football or track, like Wrigley Field. Like you can feel the history and the ghosts walking around that place when you walk in there. That was literally the home of the last time the Steelers beat the Eagles in Philly.
Yeah, it's been a while, man. I ain't got no answer as to why there's a ceiling above it. I saw you looking at Bert. I thought he had some snarky to say about wins and losses.
That's okay.
Steelers beat this team already. We playing nice today. We ain't gonna do this type of stuff.
Listen,
When have we ever played nice on this show? When has that been something we have decided to do?
I do want to give you a little positivity, Ramon. I do want to give you a little positivity.
glad
You're
you
giving the
believe
Steelers positivity in this economy?
With a win against the Philadelphia Eagles, it would be the first decade that the Steelers have beat the Eagles in totality since the 1930s. Every other decade, the Eagles have won the matchup. In the 1930s, you guys were 7-6. You beat them 7 games to 6 games. But since then, it's been ties and the Eagles. So you guys need to win a game to set the record straight for the Eagles. I mean, for the Steelers. Right?
I got a question. Did your Ravens beat the Eagles last week?
They do it. Well, it's 2 weeks ago, Buster Brown.
Yeah, last week Eagles played the Panthers.
Yeah, come on, man. What are we doing?
What are we talking? We're trying to keep up.
He literally just said 5 seconds ago,
It's
we're
fine.
playing nice today.
Bills at Lions. Buffalo allowed season-high 44 points and 450 yards to the Rams. Detroit a little banged up.
Yeah.
especially on the defensive line. I like Buffalo in this game.
You like Buffalo.
I'll be honest with you. Bills second in scoring, 30.5 points per game. 24 rushing touchdowns, fifth in red zone touchdown percentage. Josh Allen's only taken 13 sacks all season.
Nuts.
I feel like Will Levis has taken 13 sacks in like 2 games this year.
He did.
13 games all season.
I think it was 11.
Or 13 sacks all season that he's taken. Those 2 games, you got to I love you, Scott Hansen, NFL Red Zone. I'm good on you this week, man.
Yeah, for real.
It's a TV and a tablet kind of day just for those 2 football games.
Multi-view for sure. Ain't no other way around it. Like,
absolutely.
Whatever happens on Nissan on Sunday, Titans fans, listen, cheer up. There are some afternoon slated games for you. You can see, no, for real, man. These, I don't know if we've seen these type of afternoon games here in a while. And I'm just glad that both teams are good.
It is as good of a 325 window as there's been all season.
You saying that, Bolt, is like when you got to go eat at your grandma's house first, but she ain't the grandma that cooked good. It's like, it's all right. We're going to the good granny's house after this. We're going to get something to eat. Just eat the biscuits and butter. You know that's good. She can't mess that up.
Sister Schubert's. That came out of the freezer. Yeah. Those Sister Schubert's been in there for 4 months, but that's all right.
Nothing that she said was homemade. Anything made in this home is terrible.
Straight up, man. Hey, listen.
Bert knows ball.
You know ball for real, man. And this is also the point where I think the Lions need to lose, though, too. 11 straight, right before the last little bit of the season. Sure. They need to lose right now. That sucks to say, but.
No, I think it's a fair point.
Yeah.
Coming up next, the Ohio State athletic director did an interview yesterday. And there are 2 things that came out of it. One that Tennessee fans will like. I guess really both things that Tennessee fans will like. Ross Bjork might have foot and mouth disorder after what he talked about yesterday in Columbus radio. This stuff is crazy. We're going to talk about it next.
8:02, good morning, happy Friday from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Thursday Night Football was the kind of game that you convinced yourself in the summer that you would be happy with, but when it happens, we ain't happy with it. The Rams beat the 49ers 12-6. Cooper Kupp held to 0 catches, while Deebo Samuel caught 3 for 16 yards. Rams improved to 8-6, still on the outside looking in at the NFC playoff situation. Titans got some players back on the field for practice yesterday. Tyler Boyd and Nick Folk back on the field. Big Jeff, Tavondre Sweat also out there practicing. Otis Reese's ankle injury must have gotten worse because he went from limited to do not participate. J.C. Latham was also added to the injury report as a limited participant. And a veteran who was unhappy with their playing circumstances was waived today. Wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. was waived by the Dolphins. Both parties agreed the separation would be beneficial. On the year, OBJ has 9 catches for 55 yards. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
RKW rolls into the second half, hour number 3 on this Friday morning in beautiful Music City, USA. Coming up in 15 minutes, Voice the Titans' Mike Keith will join us. Steven Godfrey still to come at 9:20 today as well, plus your phone calls at 615-737-1045. With Ramon Foster, I'm Will Bowling. Robert Walsh makes the show happen. Kayla's got the morning off and next week off as she enjoys a much-deserved vacation. And we continue to talk football with you this morning. Ross Bjork did exactly that, the Ohio State athletic director, on Columbus radio, and had some very interesting things to say. Appearance with 97.1 The Fan in Columbus. Ramon, Ross Bjork is urging Buckeye fans to show up.
I saw.
In a playoff game.
I seen that.
He is pleading with fans not to sell their tickets. I'm going to say this slowly, in a playoff game.
In a playoff game.
What we need Buckeyes to do is wear scarlet and don't sell your tickets, he says. Quote, because Tennessee fans, they're rabid fans. They're going to try to invade the shoe. So let's make sure we don't have as much orange in here as people think. I think it's just going to be an awesome atmosphere. Ross, buddy, if you have to say they're going to try to invade the shoe, they've probably already invaded it. It's too late. If you're saying this and doing interviews, I think the damage has already been done.
The other side is, why worry? Right? Like, I don't recall, like, you're a brand. Like, I'll never take that away from Ohio State. They are a brand from Tennessee to Ohio to Texas to California to Maine. They are a brand. People enjoy. You never have a problem selling out your stadium. Don't let the little orange team from down south come up there and make you feel this feared. Like, I know we're in the SEC and all those types of jazz, and y'all been bragging. They got 4 teams. We got 3. You feel me? Like, it's all right. Like, Coach, what are you doing, man? No, this should not be the message. The message should be talk trash to the Tennessee Vols fans coming over here. Invite them to your tailgate. Soon as they walk into those stadium doors, you talk about their kids, their mama, the husband got to fight for the family. Like, no, don't be begging your folks up there to, hey, be nice. And no, absolutely not, man. That should be the least of your worry right now. Like begging fans not to sell their tickets. This is America, is it not, Will Bowling? Yes, it is.
As far as I know.
As far as I know. Unless you're going on Twitter, which we were just talking about. But either way, what I'm saying is this. They're going to sell their tickets regardless. This is Christmas money for a lot of folks. You can't stop that from happening. And then, of course, we just sick like that as a fan base, too. So I get what he's trying to say. Make it as toxic as he possibly can. But some things you just can't stop. And one of those things is Vol Nation, baby.
It's really interesting the way these two fan bases are approaching this game. I don't know. I don't feel the level of confidence from Ohio State fans just because of the way that Michigan game went and because I think they know how much orange is going to be in Columbus, Ohio.
You know what the
Next
issue
weekend.
is? They're uncertain in a lot of different ways. Not about their team, but just about their future. Like, they got a coach that some won't, but not everybody. They're not on the same page.
And Ross Bjork in the same interview yesterday said, yeah, Coach Day is awesome. He'll absolutely be around, even if,
Like,
they don't win a national championship.
I love this type of stuff. You know why? Because we're talking about non-football stuff.
That's right.
We're not talking about
That's right.
X's and O's and Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith. No, we're not talking about any of those things, right? They're talking about non-football issues. And when those types of things creep up, man, that's the type of stuff that can make you fold. Again, Ohio State will be fine. They got a very talented team. But that AD mentioning stuff like that, I ain't never heard Danny White say that.
No, could you imagine?
I mean, I'm talking a lot of trash right now, but hell no, Will. I couldn't imagine that being the case because we understand the assignment in Knoxville.
Right. Then there's this tweet from Jay Book, who writes for bucknuts.com, which is a big Ohio State website. Does a great job covering the Ohio State athletics up there. Says, Ross Bjork said the logistics like staffing will be Ohio State people for the playoff game. So it'll be staffed not by college football playoff people. And this is not an NCAA tournament. This is a CFP tournament, right? Like the NCAA's national championship in football is the FCS tournament. This is the CFP that puts together all of this. He does go on to say, though, Ross Bjork, that the in-game environment will be controlled by the college football playoff. Music and all of those things will be the college football playoff. Tennessee will have an entrance video played in Columbus.
Wow.
So this is going to be, if you've ever been to a women's basketball tournament game run by the NCAA in a home arena, or an NCAA baseball tournament game where all the in-game entertainment is controlled by the NCAA, it's going to be controlled by the college football playoff.
Wow.
In all these home stadiums, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I absolutely hate that. So, you earned the home field environment. You should get the full benefits, all these home teams should, of that full experience of a home field environment.
Yeah, this doesn't have to be that respectful.
No.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be that respectful. Like, and honestly, don't try to trick me into believing you believe in me like that on the road. Like, to your point, though, about it being home field advantage, like it should be the home crowd controlling everything. Like
100%.
Only pushback I would say is, all right, well, only question I have is, do they control the music? Like, it's third. They don't control third down.
I think both
setups.
teams might get that.
Both teams might get that.
That's the thing. If Tennessee has 30 to 35% of the fans in the stadium,
it can create some chaos.
I'm telling you, man.
It can create some chaos.
I don't think this is a normal home field advantage for Ohio State for those two reasons. The amount of orange that's going to be there, and B, the fact that like you don't have the full complement of the in-game experience in your favor the way you typically would.
I thought they would have. Like everything leading up to this, I thought this was like home field like operations. It's not at all.
I'm interested to see what it really is, because again, we don't know what that actually looks like practically, in the stadium. Like I know they've got light show stuff they're going to do and different things. Like how much does it still just feel like a regular Ohio State game? I don't know now.
This is another one of those things the CFP or NCAA also missed the mark on too then. Because if that's the case, then why did they only allot that many tickets?
Right.
Like,
why does Tennessee only get 3,500 tickets if it's essentially going to be like run by the college football playoff?
Yeah, no, that's not okay right there. Again, they are missing the mark a little bit on a good bit of these things. This first go around, this 12 seed playoff, that's one of them to me. If you're going to allow it to be a campus game, let it fully be a campus game and embody the rivalry, whatever it turns into.
Yeah.
I hope Michigan team. I see somebody put something. I hope Michigan fans show up just to boo Ohio State too. We might actually have family up there. I mean, Joe came from there.
Come join us.
Yeah, I hope come watch it. That's where I'm at, man. They hold over 100,000 inside that stadium too, correct?
They do. Yes, they do.
I hope.
It's bigger than Neyland.
It's big. We've also taken out a lot of stuff too.
Yeah, we have.
When I was there, it was like 105, close to 107.
106?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
It's close to 107.
Yeah, Tennessee made the choice in a couple different phases of renovations to downgrade a little bit, and that's when they built the Tennessee Terrace and the additional skyboxes that are above, obviously, the stadium is one thing. But, yeah, they've taken out about 6,000 seats since you were there.
Speaking of tickets and stuff like that, Danny White, just stop saying stuff out loud, too, because it hurts me even more if he's listening to this.
What do you mean?
Because I'm trying to get season tickets up there. He said the wait list is over 20,000 long.
20,000. The wait list for Tennessee season tickets.
Ramon's struggling with being a normal person for once. How does it feel to stand in line with us regulars?
I'm going to be honest with you. It
Regular
sucks.
Ramon.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not okay with it. I got 4 tickets in mind that I like to have seated, my family at.
And you want to kick the people out that own them.
You
I
damn
understand.
right. I gave blood up there, okay? I broke my finger up there. This finger's got a plate and 4 pins in it behind it, okay?
Pins.
Pins in
It's a
it.
Ripley, Tennessee show.
I
and
went
as
to
soon as
the
you
end
get
of the
mad-
year party with my hand in a cast, okay, doped up on I don't know what, okay? I gave
Hold
my
on a minute,
all.
player.
It was surgery meds. It was surgery meds. I wasn't missing the end of the year party is what I'm telling you. Look, my hand was on my chest like this, Will.
Like he doing the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody stand. I pledge allegiance.
Me, Ink, Mayo, and Rob had a time that night.
I was going to say, was that the official end of year party, or was that
was.
your house's official end of year
official
party?
one? You couldn't miss that one. Look, if I held my hand down on my side, that thumb be throbbing like crazy. So I had to hold it up and pop a pill. And hey, your boy was in there. He was in that thing.
So
that
there
night.
is no privileges to skip the line if you play football at Tennessee. Is what
I need 4 terrace tickets.
because you've got, yeah.
I got connections to get tickets, but like I actually want them this time.
You
Yeah, Bert, shut up. I know you about to say, shut up, Bert. I know you about to say something.
That's honestly the worst part of it. When you've got someone like Bert in your life who doesn't pipe in to talk down to you, but you know the mind, the wheels are turning.
I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
ain't saying nothing, but I'm
Coming up
thinking.
next, voice of the Titans, Mike Keith, the Vaunt will join us. Talk Titans and Bengals after this. Sunday morning at Gray and Dudley, the Bankers Alley Hotel. You can come tailgate with us before the Titans take on Cincinnati. 221 2nd Avenue North in downtown Nashville. We will be there at 9:30, and this is the perfect place to start your game day. You park there with us at the Bankers Alley Hotel in Gray and Dudley. We got some great offers for you. $20 if you come dine in at the restaurant at Gray and Dudley, or if you just want to park and go ahead and walk across the bridge just a couple of blocks over the Cumberland River, and then you're right there at Nissan Stadium. Then you can do that for $30. We got a brunch burger and Bloody Mary combo, $25. You get a fried egg and bacon on that burger. The Bloody Mary with bacon, cheese, house pickled okra, olives, lemon, and lime. It is literally like an appetizer in a glass. Or you can just go mimosa, coffee, or a beer, an old fashioned. One of the best old fashions in the city of Nashville. 221 2nd Avenue North. Come and see us at the Bankers Alley Hotel. That's Gray and Dudley, 9:30 a.m. before the Titans take on the Bengals. RKW rolls on here in hour number 4 on a Friday morning. Ramon Foster, Will Bowling with you. Kayla's got the morning off. Pleased to be joined, as we are every Friday at this time during the football season, by the VOT, voice of the Titans, Mike Keith. What's up, Mike? How are you?
Good morning.
Mike, when you talk about Titans and Bengals that Brian Callahan has addressed, I know with you guys, I know in the media about what this Cincinnati organization means to him. And I go back, Mike, to the introductory press conference where Rand Carthon went out of his way to thank Zach Taylor, thank the Cincinnati organization for their cooperation in helping Brian connect with the Titans. From what you have talked with Brian about and just heard from him, what does this game, what does Zach Taylor mean to him, and just a really unique Sunday upcoming this weekend for the head coach of the Titans?
I think it's something akin to he's going against his brother. That's how he sees it. And I think that's very exciting. For those of us who have brothers, we know we love them more than anything, and we want to beat them more than anything. So I think that's going to be what the attitude that Brian Callahan will take into it. And I think, quite honestly, Zach Taylor has a brother, Press Taylor, who we saw last week. And, he wants to win too. So I think that's what it's going to come down to once 12:02 hits and everything starts. But the before and after is a good story because the Bengals were a great place for Brian to cut his teeth and take the next step toward being a head coach. And he left there with very good feelings, understandably so. I think he's, I think he's handled it properly in that we haven't heard the whole year, oh, the Bengals do it this way. Nobody wants to hear that in the NFL. Frankly, nobody wants to hear that anywhere.
Thank you, Mike.
but the bottom line is that he has respect. I think it's been appropriate in terms of how he's talked about it. And I think it shows a lot about who Brian is as a human being. He's a loyal guy. He's a respectful guy. He's a family guy. And he's a football guy. So I think he's kept a nice balance on it. We teased him some on Monday when we did the radio show about, well, we know you haven't been asked about this and you won't be asked about it. And he laughed because I think Brian has an understanding of what the storyline is. I think he's done it appropriately, but I think it has not been to a point that it's been nauseating to this moment in time.
I just love Ramon already jumping in. Of just, I know, Mike, those of us that have been Titans fans forever, the AFC Central rivalry and the history never goes away. I know you are aware of just the feelings that your sideline reporter is going to have for an AFC North rivalry. I think this is where the Venn diagram just becomes a circle, Mike, of Titans fans' history with Cincinnati and Ramon Foster's history with Cincinnati.
Well, if Marvin Lewis shows up, we may not be able to contain Ramon.
Yeah, Mike.
I think if they walk Marvin Lewis in, we have lost Ramon for the entire day.
You have all after that, Mike. All I'm thinking about is the double A gap blitzes. Okay, just late hits and just a lot of tragedy in that series right there. So yeah, don't walk in, Marvin. Please.
Well, I've got Vontez Perfect on the line. You want me to put him on right now?
See, Mike, that you see why I didn't mention that name right there, man. That dude was a menace. Okay, I'm trying to have a good Friday, Mike.
Yes.
Mike Keith with us. So, Mike, when you look at what this Titans offense can do to get back on track, I know Nick Holtz spoke yesterday about there were plays out there that for different reasons, maybe it was quarterback, maybe it was not picking up a blitz. For whatever reason, they didn't hit. Where can this offense get back in a groove against a Cincinnati defense that has Trey Hendrickson, but also has had some struggles on that side of the ball this year?
Okay, I'm not going to say this to be smart alecky, but I am just going to say it.
Yep.
Hit them.
Perfect.
Hit the plays. Because if you don't this week, you ain't winning. You know, more than likely, if you're playing a team that's averaging, 34 points a game over their last 5 games, 28 points a game for the season. I mean, you've got to hit them. You've got to score touchdowns when you have chances. You've got to hit deep balls when you have opportunities. if you've got a screen set up that can go all the way, you've got to make the block, and the timing has to be good. I mean, that's where they've got to get back on track, Will, is we've seen signs at different points of them being able to do these things. We've seen proof at different points. They didn't do them at all last week, and it's why they lost the ball game. And that's got to happen this week. And Brian Callahan, again, to reference his Monday night show, which airs right here on 104.5 The Zone at 6, he said it. You know, I think Amy asked him, do you have to call a bit of a different game? Do you have a different philosophy knowing how they score? And he said yes. I mean, he admitted it flat out. I mean, these people can score, and you can't depend on your defense to hold them to 10. If you hold them to 20, great. If you hold them to 17, fantastic. We held them to 3 last year, which was amazing. But probably knowing their average is 28, you feel like you're going to need to get into that point to be able to beat them. That needs to be your expectation offensively. So receivers got to catch it. They got to be in the right place. Blockers can't hold. They got to be in the right place, and Will Levis has to make the right decisions. That is really what it comes down to, is they got to do it.
The VOT with us this morning, Mike Keefe. Mike, when you look at this matchup also this weekend, man, they have a unique animal too, honestly. Will and I were speaking about this earlier. Like, Joe Burrow's protected. Late hits, you can't allow that this week. Jamar Chase is one of those guys. If it's close and you're on him, you're probably going to get a flag thrown on you. Right. How unique are those two guys, though, to that offense, despite their record and how they've been losing games?
Who's a better combination quarterback to receiver in the NFL at this moment?
At this moment? I mean,
either one of you, please.
I'm coming up empty. I don't think there is one.
I want to give Sam Darnold credit, but Justin Jefferson's just that great, right? It's got to be those two.
It's those two.
Okay.
I mean, that's what you're up against. You've got to have no fear. And what I mean by that is you got to go hit Joe Burrow. You've got to do whatever you can to let Jamar Chase know that you're there defensively. Hopefully you don't get a flag. But I don't think – I mean, you saw Dallas on that 4-step out cut at the end of the game play off Jamar Chase. The ball was on him before he had basically broken out because they played off. And one guy misses the tackle, and he goes to the house. Burrow knows him so well. He reads it. He puts it there. I mean, listen, you can't play it that way. You can't play, well, we're going to play off of him and hope it all works out. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think you got to go get him. And if you play too aggressive and you get a flag, fine. I mean, Burrow takes sacks. So you've got to be in a position, to me, it's one of those games where you can't worry about yards overall. You've got to worry about points. You've got to try to find ways to get off the field, make them kick field goals, make them punt occasionally. See if you can get a ball that bounces up in the air that you intercept. Have an opportunity to knock Joe Burrow loose. He's fumbled 30 times in his career, which when you consider how many times he's dropped back, that's not that bad, but it has happened. And these are the sorts of things that I think have to happen in the game this week. Is I think you've got to go play your game. And that's the best way. Just like the offense has to go make it happen, I think the defense has to have the exact same mindset. We're talking about a 5-8 football team, guys, but they're 2-7 in one-score games. They're coming on now. You could very easily see them at 9-8 in 4 weeks, and the team that nobody wants to play in the playoffs. They had a rough patch. They had some injuries. They had some things happen. But, I mean, you're taking a step up in weight class dramatically from last week, particularly with this quarterback receiver and a running back in Chase Brown that's really been coming on over the last 5 games in terms of how they're using him.
Mike, when you one of the worst feelings you can have as a player is when your team loses, but internally, your inner thoughts, you say to yourself, well, I had a good game. One of those guys was Otis Reese last weekend. He had a good game, Mike, and he's going to have another one because Mike Gesicki is one of those guys that can be a threat. I mean, I think it's supposed to be a rain game this upcoming weekend. What do you have to say about a guy like him that stayed around long enough? And, Mike, he had a career game last weekend.
Well, Otis is really some kind of player. I just hope he's available. Ramon.
Okay.
That's what the fear is. He's on the injury report with an ankle. Otis is the guy, and we've described it before, and the great Titans fans will know what I'm talking about. He's the guy everybody stops to watch the defensive tape because he may be the biggest hitter on the team. Not dirty, not anything other than when he gets there, it's violent. Yeah. And everybody digs it, man. I mean, you could put on an Otis Reese highlight tape in film, and NFL players who make millions of dollars will stop and want to watch. So he gives you juice. He did a good job in pass coverage, which is something that he had not done as well early in his career. So it feels like he's growing. I just worry about his availability. And if he's not available, then you're at and Kenneth Murray's not available too, then it's Luke Gifford and someone else, which is probably Cedric Gray or James Williams. And those guys certainly have potential, but you're right. Otis is coming off a really good game, and you hope health-wise he even has the ability to follow it up.
Voice the Titans, Mike Keith, our guest this morning at TENN Voice, of course, where you follow him on social media. Mike, I feel like a theme of this season has been learning from other rebuilds around the league. And I think we talked about this when the Titans played the Lions earlier this year. And I think with the Bengals, there's a similar discussion to be had simply because of the familiarity that we've talked about, right? Brian knows the way they built it there. And I think people forget, Mike, how bad things were at the beginning of the Joe Burrow era and pre-Joe Burrow when that staff took over, because obviously they've been in a Super Bowl now. What do you take away from the way Cincinnati has built things? Because, yes, Joe Burrow is a terrific player. There are a lot more terrific players that have worn that uniform than just him. What do the Titans learn from how that staff did it there and how Brian wants to try to build things here with the help of Rand and the entire organization?
Well, there's some similarity in that they were a really solid team under Marvin Lewis. They had some real success, and they were, they didn't win playoff games, and so everybody forgets about them, but they were in the playoffs. I think they won the North a couple times, if I'm not mistaken, Ramon. Is that right?
Well, we were having a down year or something, Mike.
Well, no, but I mean, they did.
Seriously,
they
did.
Champion. Yeah,
they did.
So they were much like us with the 6 straight winning seasons, and then it kind of ended, and they had to do a reboot. And I think it's pretty similar to where we are at this moment in time, is you're in the middle of having to sort of reboot things in a different way. We'd hope this year would go faster. It certainly hasn't, and the frustration is palatable because we've had 3 straight rough years. But, I mean, you when you make a commitment, as the Titans did, to shuffle the deck in the dramatic way that they did, it's just not going to happen as quickly as you would hope, and you have to have the patience to stay with it. That's brutal. That is brutally hard to say. I mean, they won 2 games, and then they won 4 games. Now, the second year of it, they were winning the 4 games with Joe Burrow, and he got hurt and missed a part of the second year. And so they were able to see light at the end of the tunnel because, they were able to, figure out ways to get a couple wins here. And people were like, okay, well, this Joe Burrow thing's going to work out. They drafted well. They stacked draft classes. They signed free agents who made sense. I mean, Trey Hendrickson, when they signed him in 21, guys, he was coming off 1 good year in New Orleans. 1 good year. Yeah. And he cost them some money, but everybody was not convinced. I mean, 13.5 sacks in 2020. Was that an anomaly? Well, no, he's had 52 sacks in Cincinnati. You've got to find some diamonds in the rough. You've got to get lucky, and you got to stack things. And that's what the Titans' challenge is going to be in this offseason, is to stack a second straight off season of productivity, knowing that you hope you're going to get a full season of L'Jarius Sneed next year. This draft class will have experience. You hope you figured out the majority of your offensive line. You probably need to add at least one more piece, maybe two, but you don't need to add four, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is where you go. That's what Cincinnati did. And right now, if they win out, then, which we hope they don't because we'd like to beat them, but even if they don't, I mean, they have 3 straight winning seasons. They've overcome some stuff. I mean, their future is still bright.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to get back to. But it sure did take patience to get there. That's for sure.
Mike, speaking of bright futures, this weekend, well, tomorrow, depending on when they get in, do you think a sit-down will just be had between friends to a tomorrow between Zach Taylor and Brian Callahan? Because he's a guy that's walked this exact same pathway that Zach Taylor has. And 2-14 his first year, 4-11. Then they reel off a couple of winning seasons, 3 winning seasons. Like, if there's anybody to ever speak with, like, this is like one of those, hey, homie to homie, let's talk about how you navigated this. Is that something you think that could happen?
Well, Paul Dehner had a great piece in The Athletic about their texting relationship throughout the season. And I think that probably is what continues to the end of the year. I don't know that there's a big, get together, but, maybe standing on the field, having some conversation. But yeah, I mean, there's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And there's perspective from somebody who's been there, who's 100% been through everything that Brian is going through right now. Brian had hoped for a lot better. He had thought, he comes in with all of his crisp new plans and his manila folders and everything that he's going to do. And guess what? Everything that he's done is not wrong. It's not. It just hasn't worked out yet. And it's really hard to have faith at a moment like this for anybody. And you have to stick with what you believe in. And then they'll write the stories about you 2 years later about how dark it was and how you stuck with what you believed in, just like what they've written about Zach Taylor.
Right.
But the hard part is to have the faith yourself, and also, Ramon, to convince everyone around you to have that same sort of faith. And that's going to be Brian's challenge through the next few weeks and into the off season, is convincing everyone that his vision is going to be what it is. Now, listen, Brian's going to want to make some changes too. I mean, he's now seen some things. He knows a couple things. He'll want to tweak, but he's not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. He's still Brian Callahan. He's still the same guy that he was that they hired last January. His core beliefs don't go away, but how he feeds that faith and develops that faith within the organization, within the locker room, to ownership, to the fan base, to everybody, that's going to determine a lot of his success in 2025 and beyond, just like Zach Taylor's ability to have people buy his vision and to have the same sort of faith he did, got him to the Super Bowl in year 3,
right,
after 6 wins the first 2 years. That's hard, man.
It is.
I mean, it's hard. I mean, by definition, faith is a hard thing to have in anything. and right now, as you stare into the abyss, it's difficult. And I get it. But I think Brian's got a lot of good things going for him that he needs to continue to push to this football team and to make apparent to everyone who's interested in the Tennessee Titans. And I think he's the biggest thing you're holding on to right now if you're excited. And because I think he's got the right stuff. But to get through this, not easy. No. Not easy.
Voice of the Titans, Mike Keith, joins us Fridays here on RKW. Titans and Bengals inside Nissan Stadium this weekend. Appreciate the time as always, Mike. Thanks so much.
Real good,
Thanks
Mike.
for having me, guys.
Real good right
Yes,
there, Mike. Thank you.
There he is, Voice of the Titans, Mike Keith. We can open it up for phone calls when we come back. Haven't heard from many of you yet this morning. 615-737-1037. 1045. Your reaction plus a story of the FBI getting involved in George Mason basketball. That is as weird of a story as it sounds. You'll be interested in what in the world is going on with this when we come back at 1045 The Zone.
The holiday fun continues at Genesis Diamonds with the year's best finance offer now through Christmas Eve. Stop playing around, y'all. Genesis love last-minute shoppers like you, all right? They've got tons of great ideas, incredible value prices, and 5-year zero-interest financing. So you can splurge on that $9,000 diamond ring and pay just $150 a month. Or how about that $5,000 pair of diamond stud earrings? It's just about $85 a month. You can even finance the sales tax. And you can also use this amazing offer on anything. Designer engagement rings, classic like diamond pendants and bracelets. All Genesis hand-selected GIA certified diamonds are included. So are the luxury pre-owned Rolex watches. Is this the year you treat someone or even yourself with a Rolex or that amazing diamond eternity band? At Genesis, they have the best holiday collection ever with case after case of headliner gifts that are romantic and timeless. And with Genesis guaranteed best value price and 5-year zero interest finance offer, you can make this the best Christmas ever and still stay within budget. So Merry Christmas from Genesis Diamonds. They're located in Cool Springs and Green Hills.
RKW ramping up hour number 3 this morning on a 104.5 The Zone. Titans and Bengals predictions coming up in 10 minutes. Great visit with Mike Keith with Brent Hubbs so far this morning. You hit the podcast channel, Ramon, Kayla, and Will, wherever you download podcasts. Hit subscribe while you are there. You get those interviews. You get every hour of the program. Let's catch up on some phone calls. Go first to Matthew in Franklin. Wants to talk about Bill Belichick and UNC this morning. Hey, Matthew.
Good morning, guys. Did y'all hear the very end of his press conference?
No, what did he say?
Well, the reporter said, Coach, you're 72 years old. How does a 72-year-old man relate to 18, 20-something adults? He just looked at him and said, have you seen my girlfriend?
She's mom now. I wonder, do they call her Big Mama now?
Matthew, it is Friday and you are acting like it properly. Thank you, Matthew.
I came on through with it, Matthew.
Appreciate the call.
Hey, Bill out here getting to it. Bert brought up a moment that I guess he had on social media, too, where he was leaving some suburb of Boston early in the morning, shirtless. Bill been out here in these streets.
Hey, he built like you. Bill built, man.
Keep putting the Bill and built different.
I'm telling you, man, I've been calling him Bill from NC. That's what he is
I think
now.
they messed up. They started calling him Chapel Bill. They need to be called Chapel Thrill because all the old women around Hillsboro are about to be hollering for Bill.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. Bill from North Carolina, baby. Man, got to switch up his identity.
Have you guys seen this story about George Mason basketball?
No, I have not.
I don't know why you would have. Yeah. These are the kind of things that only I find on my algorithm. So a travel agent is facing 20 years in prison for defrauding George Mason.
Defrauding George Mason?
So literally, Maurice Eugene Smith, founder and CEO of the Eugene Tarico Travel Agency, has been charged with defrauding George Mason and its foundation, which spent $159,000 for what the FBI describes as a sham. So instead of using the money to secure accommodations and flights for the Patriots, he is accused of using at least some of it to fund getaways for himself, to Mexico and Panama.
Yeah.
He is facing a maximum of 20 years in prison if convicted of wire fraud. Sportico.com. With this story. How are you going to just defraud a basketball program to just go to Mexico?
Get it how you live, man. Hey, I'm telling you, if they going to leave it out there like that, everybody's checking for the pennies.
So crazy. Like Mo Smith out here. What are you talking about, man? You call him Maurice Smith. No, that man name is Mo Smith. He from around the way. You feel what I'm saying? Absolutely not. Well, here's the thing about it. He probably joked with them and said, y'all sure y'all want to give me this card? And they say, yeah, Maurice, go ahead. We got you.
You take it. Don't worry about it, man.
Like,
he's a good guy.
No one man should have all that power, Will. Like, legitimately, what's an extra flight for him and his side thing? Like, what is you talking about? That's exactly what he said. You think he went to Mexico alone? No, he did not. Absolutely not. He's out here living a life. Listen, he understands George Mason ain't no broke boy out here. That card never declined.
Poor George.
That's on them for not watching him, right? I'm blaming the institution out here, man.
That's crazy.
Hey, you may call him
How
Eugene.
dare George Mason get robbed $150,000?
You may call him Eugene, but the girls call him Tarico.
No,
That's crazy.
That sucks for the university. Him for having to go lay down for a little while. 20 years is what he facing after that, Will?
Maximum of 20 years.
Max 20 years.
Max, he'll be adding an 8 on good behavior.
That's a quick sleep.
He'll be back in Mexico before you know it.
Yeah, my boy back. Is he back? 150? Is that a felony?
I would say so.
Just
if you're going away for
time.
20 years, yeah.
Just enough time to hatch that next plan. You know, how we going to get to Mexico for the free?
How are you guys taking the side of the dude taking $150,000?
It's about time somebody start robbing Big Brother out here. Is what I'm telling you.
George Mason is not Big Brother.
They are Ivy League, ain't they? A higher education institution. They need to get more smart people watching the money, Will. That's what I'm telling you. What they expect. My boy out here getting
When we
to
say
it.
hide the money, y'all, we mean hide the money, y'all. Quit. Don't let me in. Don't let me
Bert,
in.
you see Cumulus ain't gave me a company card yet.
They know. They already know.
It's like putting candy around me. I'm going to eat it up. You feel me? Like, no.
Hey, Ramon, you got to quit putting these PJs on the daggum company card.
Listen, how am I supposed to get there? You said fly comfortable. This is my upgrade.
You're so ridiculous. The fact that you've taken this story about a college basketball program. Whatever. Anyway.
Look, the FBI got like a 99% hit rate like that. He's guilty, all right? We might as well just
back it up. Unless it comes to college basketball coaches
you know
being
what?
wiretapped by the FBI. They end up being not guilty.
They should have looked. One Google search told me that they are not accredited by the Better Business Bureau. So that's all I had to do to know that this dude was a fraud. George Mason should have did one simple Google at Eugene Tarico.
Hey, they should have saw his credit score was a 525. He ain't ready.
He's still paying off that fridge.
Oh, my goodness.
What you giving him the car for? Y'all need to be a little bit more thorough.
615-737-1045.
Till it's backwards.
Oh,
him
my
free.
goodness sakes. Coming up, Titans and Bengals pick. Steven Godfrey coming up at 9:20, and whatever other tomfoolery I get dragged into over the last 60 minutes of the program next. Hey, it's Will Bowling. What if I told you there's a way to enjoy pain relief, lower blood pressure, and help with other health issues? What if you could have more energy, stamina, sleep better? Would you try it? Well, of course you would. That's why I want to tell you about our Live Wave patches. You ask what our Live Wave patches are, how they can help this many issues. Well, these patches are the most advanced, multi-patented, non-invasive, and affordable technology in the form of a wearable patch that kind of looks like a Band-Aid. Phototherapy patch. This reflects the infrared heat that your body creates, and this patch has a special pattern that reflects the infrared heat back to your body to activate your stem cells. And our stem cells, they're responsible for our body healing, so reactivating those stem cells is an important part of repairing the body without drugs or chemicals. Guys, this stuff really works. You see incredible examples of the body healing, and results vary, but people are seeing results as quickly as day 4, 5, a week into using these patches. Scars that are going away. Crazy energy levels that increase. 501-605-6935. That's where you go online at ourlivewave.com, LIVEWAVE.com. Results vary, but most experience excellent outcomes with energy, better sleep, pain relief, and more. Again, the phone number, 501-605-6935. That's 501-605-6935.
What's going on, you bunch of hoodlums? Happy Friday, 9:02. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Thursday night football. That was the kind of game you convince yourself in the summer that you would have been happy with. Rams beat the 49ers 12-6. Cooper Kupp held to 0 catches while Deebo Samuel caught 3 of his for 16 yards. Rams improved to 8-6. Still looking on the outside in at the NFC playoffs. The Titans at the practice yesterday got some players back on the field. Tyler Boyd, Nick Folk, Big Jeff, and Tavondre Sweat all came to be full participants. Otis Reese ankle injury that kept him limited on Wednesday, kept him off the field on Thursday. J.C. Latham also added to the injury report with a hip injury. For the Bengals, Orlando Brown still missing practice after being out for the last following weeks. Another veteran who's unhappy with his playing circumstances, wide receiver Odell Beckham being waived by the Dolphins. Both parties agreed separation would be beneficial. On the year, OBJ has 9 catches for 55 yards. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Final hour of the morning, final hour of the week on RKW. Rocking and rolling for 60 more minutes, talking Titans with some picks in a matter of seconds. Before Steven Godfrey joins us, coming up in about 15 minutes, going to talk some college football. Today is coaching carousel day with Godfrey. He's going to come in studio for an hour next Tuesday. We'll break down all the playoff matchups and what is going on that front. But there is so much movement just in North Carolina to make one man the head coach there, and Bill Belichick. We'll talk about that with Godfrey, who has been all over that reporting since that saga began. 615-737-1045 is the number. Ramon Foster, Will Bowling, Robert Walsh, Kayla with the morning off.
Will said, what's all that movement back there?
What you got going on?
What's all that movement back there?
What you talking about? I'm lost.
Look, there was a lot of moving parts just to hire one football coach. Or essentially, like, you had 3 or 4 different groups doing a search in Chapel Hill. Bert's just trying to get you on his side.
I'm just
and make fun of the way that I described the Bill Belichick hire in Chapel Hill, in Chapel Bill.
That's what they used to say when I came down the hall. They say, what's all that movement down there, big fella? What's all that movement?
Where's the nothing.
It is Friday and you are properly acting like it.
What you doing, girl, with all that? Ooh, nothing. Hey,
Titans are going to play the Bengals on Sunday afternoon in Nissan Stadium, 9 a.m. on Fridays. We give you picks. No Vols pick to make today. Vols aren't playing.
They aren't playing.
However, they are going to play a big one next weekend, of course, that we'll pick this time next week. Ramon, your pick, please. Titans and Bengals. What is the Titans' pathway to winning, and do they pull it off?
Pathway to winning is a little bit, as I said earlier, stop shooting yourself in the foot. Working negative against the Cincinnati team that easily scores points is a quick way to lose football games. So take care of the football, no negative pre-snap plays, and capitalize. As Mike Keith said a second ago, too, you got to hit your shots. Hit them. But my prediction, I got Bengals. Bengals winning this one, man. It's offensively, their offensive side of the ball is stronger than anything I think the Titans have as of late.
Sure. I'll take the Bengals 31-24. I think the Titans have some success offensively against a Bengals defense that is just not good, aside from Trey Hendrickson. But that one player is that good. Trey Hendrickson is a game wrecker. And I think specifically for this Titans team, I think they're going to have a hard time blocking him enough and keeping him at bay enough to move the ball consistently on offense. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and if T. Higgins is back healthy again and can go in a full capacity, It's as good as it gets, man. Yeah. And I do think their arrow is starting to point up a little bit.
Yeah, my final score, I'll give him 28-18. Just on the basis that it's supposed to be some elements, rain. Mm-hmm. So I can see Tony Pollard having some ground. Like, if there's anything you're going to bet on in this game, it's probably Tony Pollard yards more than anything this upcoming week.
Well, if he plays.
Yeah, if he plays, yeah.
Right. So you got 4 games left. Cincinnati, you go to Indy, you go to Jacksonville, you come back and you play Houston. You got to show us something.
Yeah. No, you have to.
The rubber is meeting the road at this point. And look, I mean, we went into last week saying, it's time for a bounce-back performance. And look what happened. They scored 6 points against Jacksonville after they, got out-muscled 42-19 against Washington. Like, in order for, like Mike Keith has told us, and like we've discussed, in order for the arrow to be pointing up for this franchise, it's got to start now.
It does.
Because odds are Houston is going to come in here with their hair on fire, the way you beat them in their building.
Mm-hmm.
Going to Indy is challenging, even though I don't think that's that good of a team. And then, I mean, on the road in Jacksonville, it's never a gimme either. They lost there last year.
Oh, sure did.
It's an important game Sunday.
It's more than that, man. Like you said, the offensive struggles that you had as far as 6 points, like couldn't get to the end zone, that side of it. You got to be able to show that, because if you have 2 weekends of that says a lot. Like, I don't think you can necessarily say a team quit or you can't find answers to the test, but if you don't find a way to get to the end zone, whether it be just running it 15 times in one drive to get 7 points, like you're back in the same seat. Like you're pretty much working backwards at that point. Because that's one thing that I feel like you have to be able to see going into the end of this season is give us something for next year. And it starts with a team that you know is good enough. Yep. And when it goes to, good versus good, talent versus talent, like, can your team match that when you know you're less than?
I think this team does go to the bag of tricks and open up everything. And you heard Mike Keith mention it. I thought that was really interesting, how Brian Callahan just admitted Monday on his show. Like, you've got to be that much more aggressive against Cincinnati, considering the way they play offense. I think that hurt the Titans a little bit against Jacksonville, because I think the Titans, in their heart of hearts, mid-game thought, we might be able to win this with 6 points. Might be able to win this game with 9 points. You're not going to be going into this game with that philosophy that 10 to 14 points, honestly, might be enough. 14 would have been enough against Jacksonville. So can Will Levis handle that level of aggressive play calling and expansive offense? That's my question.
Honestly, you got to be. Like, okay, I hate to keep correlating it to the Vols, but that's what we have to compare it to at this point. You got a freshman in Nico, and you got a young guy in Will Levis. And we're talking about building templates for him to progress, to your point, right? I feel like at this portion of the season, you should be able to handle those things. You should be able to understand that, look, if we're going to win games, it falls on my shoulders. And that's what you hadn't seen. Like, we had this conversation about him reprogramming himself and everything else, right? But, like, the idea of him being a playmaker is what excites you.
Right, because unfortunately it feels like week 1 was 4 weeks ago for Will Levis.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, you should be doing that. Like, if you're at a point where you're not playing for the playoffs, you're not playing for a big contract as far as Will Levis is concerned, like, let it hang. What are we holding back for?
Right.
I'm guessing that's what you're saying too, right? It's
100%.
What the heck are you holding back for?
Can you out-duel a good offense?
Yes. You can't get those answers before going into the next season about it. And this, if you're going to do it, like, at least to try to embarrass your OG and Zach Taylor.
Right.
That has to be a part of the equation.
Because for Levis, I mean, we've only really seen him out-duel a good quarterback once.
Yeah.
It was the Houston game 3 weeks ago, 32-27.
Sure was.
But Houston also helped you out. Granted, it's part of it.
Yeah.
Like, he was better than C.J. Stroud was in that game, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
C.J. Stroud had a couple of bad turnovers. He ran out of he Orlovski'd.
He did.
At the end of that game, and Levis made a critical mistake, threw a pick 6 in that game as well, but he was ultimately still the better quarterback. Will Levis is not going to be the better quarterback on the field on Sunday. There's just no way. Joe Burrow, every field he steps on against maybe everyone other than Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, he's the better quarterback. I'll throw Lamar Jackson in there too. So how close can you get? Can you go blow for blow with an offense like Cincinnati's To me, the penalties and the turnovers hold you back from being able to do that because this defense is going to give you opportunities. Do you beat yourself enough, though, to negate how bad this defense is? That's the question every time this Titans offense takes the field.
And not just that, what are you seeing out there? What he don't want is a Sam Darnold I'm seeing ghost moment, because last week he couldn't find Chig or his open routes or make quick decisions to give it to Calvin before he ran out of bounds, right? Do you correct that this upcoming weekend? Is that something that's on your plate or in the back of your mind too, to where you find yourself throwing interceptions instead of hitting your guy? Forcing plays to happen.
Forcing it. That's what worries me about Will Levis going into a game knowing I've got to maybe put up 28 to 34 points to win.
This could be a shootout type of matchup in the sense of the elements.
I think you hope it is.
Yeah, you hope.
But again, if it's pouring down rain too, that might take away that element of it too.
How much do we believe the stats then too? Because if that's the case, you should be able to move the ball and have a shootout with them. Are you?
At this point, I'm over the stats with Levis. I'm over QB rating. I'm over yardage. I'm over completion percentage. I just want him to make winning plays. Win a football game against a good quarterback.
Against a good quarterback.
I know you're not playing the quarterback, but you know what I mean.
I mean, you are, though. Because if
can you outscore a good quarterback?
If you can outduel and outplay Joe Burrow on that day, like it ain't the movie, is Any Given Sunday?
Yeah, give me a proof of concept.
All you need is one.
Yeah.
Because you ain't got to see him no more this year, you know?
100%. Coming up, we're going to talk college football with our good friend Steven Godfrey of Split Zone Duo with the Washington Post. How in the world did Bill Belichick land at UNC? Some other names that were involved there. We got Rich Rodriguez at West Virginia for round 2. And then Dan Mullen going from ESPN to UNLV, a team that was one step shy of the college football playoff. The coaching carousel machine, it is humming, and Steven Godfrey will make sense of it. We'll talk college football with him coming up next.
Still on. It's still on.
RKW 104.5, The Zone, rolling through hour number 4 this morning. Ramon Foster and Will Bowling hanging out with you. Kayla Anderson with the morning off. Pleased to be joined by our college football expert, split zone duo, Washington Post, Steven Godfrey, with us this morning. Godfrey, what's up? How are you?
Extremely ready for the season to be over because, let's just get into it. This has been the weirdest. Yeah.
Why is it so weird, Godfrey? I mean, you don't come on here just spewing stuff and it means nothing. Talk us through it. Why is it weird?
I didn't realize I'd be writing this much about Bill Belichick. The amount of people talking themselves into this is kind of amazing.
Yeah. It is.
It really is. Yeah. Do you guys want to get straight into the Tennessee comparison I made? Because I feel like
Yes.
Okay.
I can't wait.
Yes. You said it was like 2017 Tennessee all over again, which those phrases are very seldom said, Godfrey, because the Shiano Sunday fiasco, there are a lot of things Tennessee fans do that often aren't duplicated. And how much of a power struggle was there? Because we talked about this earlier, right? Like, he was hired, I think publicly, maybe the casual fan is paying attention to this thinking like, all right, they interviewed Belichick at the beginning. They hired Belichick. Pretty straightforward, right? As you have reported and written about, this was anything but straightforward at North Carolina.
Yeah. By the way, let me hijack this real fast.
Do it.
So I did the mini-series Who Killed College Football, which is just basically like 100-year history of how we got here and why everything's screwed up. But do you think people outside of like this radio audience, if like I did the same thing and told the 2017 Tennessee story, do you think that would work nationally? Because it comes up so often, and I don't think people believe what I'm saying when I tell them that story. Now, anyone listening to this would believe it because a lot of them lived it, right? But I feel like this is going back to like maybe it wasn't that comp, but 2 agents this week, and I guess I don't know. Hit me up on social if you think it would work. If like I had a very high-ranking person on one side of this industry and another high-ranking person on the other side of this industry independently volunteer that comparison.
Wow.
Now, is it 1-to-1? No, because again, if you don't know what we're talking about right now, there were so many chapters inside of that coaching search, and it yielded Jeremy Pruitt, which is just sort of a hilarious joke at the end. This is very different, but what was so insane about this one is the amount of incredibly well-qualified coaches who wouldn't touch this job. Absolutely wouldn't. And I would say that at the time, please no one find my address. At the time, Tennessee had an equal level of toxicity.
Yeah.
Even as a football school.
100%.
North Carolina is not a football school. North Carolina has never been a football school. North Carolina, and I wrote this a couple weeks ago, right when Matt got fired, is the all-time legendary but what if conversation in football because they have the Jordan brand. They're incredibly popular. They have a great alumni. All the things that you want, right? There's a ton of football talent, more so than in the previous 20 or 30 years. If you sort of look between north of Atlanta and south of Philadelphia, football talent has ticked up, right? In a considerable way. And so North Carolina's had brand recognition. People have always said for years, if you could just get it together there, you could have, an ACC champion. You could compete with Clemson and Florida State and Miami. And the problem is they're not wrong. When you do this equation on paper, that's what it equals. But in real life, as you guys know, some organizations, some schools, some alumni bases are just going to be dysfunctional. They are going to self-sabotage every time. And that's look, Bill Belichick is a great example of when the very wealthy inmates run the asylum.
Yeah. It's a great point, and the reason why Tennessee is competently run right now is because Danny White no longer
is a gangster.
Those people run the asylum.
Is a gangster.
100%. So
Danny White will have you killed.
That's if you take nothing, if you take anything from this interview, take that away.
Look, someone in Knoxville, if you make that T-shirt, I want 10%. Danny White will, dude. If you have a, pardon the joke here, if you have a white AD, but I mean that, like him or his brother, or his family. You got to be scared of the whites, okay?
So you can say that. You can say that.
But
You can say
Ramon
that.
knows.
Yeah.
Ramon knows.
Yeah,
You got to fear the whites in a power situation.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
How is the Belichick thing going to work? Because I feel like we've talked about this a lot, right? Like the expectations matter. The expectations of like what would be considered a success for him. I feel like we had that conversation and then we saw how much money he's making. And I feel like $10 million a year of expectations, Godfrey, are more than just 8-4 and making it to a, decent enough bowl game and beating a Big Ten team and calling it a day and taking it to the house. Like they've got legitimate aspirations that they feel like they are paying a premium for a premium level head coach. Is this going to work?
Man, you just paid a lot of money for the Gator Bowl,
Right.
Paid a lot of money.
Right.
I am fascinated by any non-traditional power right now that does not have top-level inventory resource. So, I'm talking Ohio State, Alabama, et cetera, right? I am fascinated by any one of those schools right now, and this includes North Carolina, who looks at the problem and says we need to throw more money into coaching. I'm not saying you don't have you need a quality coach. Yeah. That is still the centerpiece, still the brain trust. That's still how we make winning football teams at every level. But how much money? I got to throw this out, and I can ballpark it for you. How much money do you think percentage-wise Andy Reid makes compared to Patrick Mahomes?
Percentage-wise.
Right? And Andy Reid's like the most, I believe right now his deal is the most lucrative in the NFL.
Right.
But when you throw in everything that's compensated towards Mahomes, 20%, 30, 40,
it's not
tops.
close. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And we know what NIL is going to force. We know the House settlement coming up is going to force profit sharing, like a stipend, but you can call it a couple different things if you want, right? We know all these things are going to happen. And you just hired a guy who the only reason he was available was because no one wanted him in the pros anymore. And he's going to turn around and tell everyone in the world, I can turn you into a pro player. That's going to be the pitch. By the way, we've heard this pitch before. Yeah. We've seen it happen. Guess what? Never works.
No.
Hasn't worked since Bill Walsh, Steve Spurrier, Herm Edwards. Y'all, we've done this story before. The idea that he's going to, by the way, here's my favorite. If you are sitting here listening to this, and for some reason in this listening audience, there's some rabid Boston sports fan, okay, who thinks Belichick is anything more than just excessively good at exploiting margins and cheating, getting away with it. Uh-huh. All right. Spygate was real. Sorry, Deflategate was real. And by the way, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. SEC, right? Just means more. 100%. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm just saying let's also not turn him into some sort of myth. Right? Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say,
as a Pittsburgh Steeler, you were on the other side of that.
I was on the other side, yeah. They listen. Don't listen to me. I already mentioned the tampering that he's allowed to do now because the NCAA has who's over tampering?
Steelers don't cheat. They just have terrible. The Steelers don't cheat. Ramon knows that.
I mean,
the fan base is tough. Believe me.
I appreciate
it's
that.
Awful, but yeah. Y'all good.
With that being said, though, as far as Bill walking into, he's walking into the Lions then. I don't think he understands college coaches the way he think he understands them. Have you talked to anybody as far as how many are waiting for their opportunity to embarrass them? Because to your point about rosters and coaches and schemes and kids that can leave at any point in time, I'm sure Lane Kiffin and Dabo Swinney are just waiting to embarrass him. Can he handle that? That's got to be part of the conversation about him getting this job.
What's even funnier to me is what happens when he's trying to install an NFL level defensive scheme, for instance. All right. Just in terms of the intricacies. And so I guess probably the simplest way to explain this is what the NFL is going to allow and really demand of you as a player is more variations on a base theme. So in college, you have less time. Things are simplified. You're also 19. You don't quite understand the intricacies that the pro game provides. What happens when he tries to jam that in and then he goes and plays Georgia Tech and Brent Key runs guard tackle counter 27 times in a row and beats him with it? College is very, very different spiritually, schematically, and then obviously, as you mentioned, in the personnel game, where the doggedness and the cunning And the ingenuity is actually really more focused on the personnel, on recruiting, on the portal, on getting the kids in there, on this sort of word of mouth, if you will, right? Think about how fast these coaches gain and lose momentum. Like, look at Brian Kelly right now. Belichick has always viewed these people as sort of disposable, interchangeable pieces, because that's the way the NFL treats personnel. It's very cut and dry, right?
Yep.
It's very, everyone has a singular purpose. You can be plugged in, you can be plugged out. We'll use this guy. He'll be a 5-game starter. He's a backup. We scouted really well in the 7th round. Then we're going to get rid of him. All of this kind of, like,
that's how it goes. So, you're breaking it down, though, how it does.
100%.
We can get 3 years out of this 6th rounder is usually how it goes.
Exactly, because it's against the cap. We've invested elsewhere. It cannot be, even with the way the game is changing, a one-to-one comparison. Mm-hmm. It's not supposed to be. And I want to be really clear here. I'm not saying I've been stumping for kids to get paid since I got in the industry. What I'm saying is the methodology of how you build a roster is so wildly different. And so, him bringing in Lombardi and them talking up a big game, usually when there's innovation in college football, there's a little bit of, there's always skepticism, but there's usually a sort of an unknown or a silence on the part of the person who becomes the change agent. What I mean by that is that Nick Saban didn't talk a lot before he changed the game, right? Urban Meyer, someone, they are talking so much that usually in these cases, pride cometh before the fall. And it's always funny to me when the NFL guys step down to our level in college. And you get this in the media, too.
Yeah.
Like when you talk to NFL media about how I love how elitist and condescending NFL media can be defending the NFL to us as if we're all just a bunch of idiots down here.
I love it.
We're literally inventing every trend that you capitalize on, and we make your personnel for you, morons.
Talk your talk. I love it so much, man.
Also, I'm sorry. If you think Panthers, Colts on a Thursday night is a better product, you're out of your damn mind.
And Godfrey, I think that's the interesting point, too, when you talk about evaluating diamonds in the rough, like evaluating an FCS player, or let's even say like a low-level G5 player. There's a first-round pick from ECU. Our producer, Bert, went to ECU, right? Like finding those kinds of guys, that's right, is a lot different from going and getting a guy from Bell Buckle, Tennessee, playing single-A high school football, who doesn't have high-level nutrition, isn't having like a college football weight room. Like, you don't know what that guy's going to grow into because he's 17 years old and he just asked to grow to homecoming this week, right? Like, that process, Godfrey, is a lot different than finding like an adult who is 21, who's playing at Holy Cross, that he feels like he can get something out of.
You don't even have contracts right now. This is my favorite part. Belichick was so good at finding the 7th rounder, the 3rd rounder. And then what do? You got a rookie deal, you extend them, you deflate their value in the market. The Patriots are master manipulators. They did this, right?
Away.
You can't do any of that. You know what happens if you have a breakout running back at North Carolina in 1 year and you develop him as a redshirt year, maybe, right? Let's say he sees the bulk of his carries as a junior and he's all ACC and he pushes you to a 10-win season. Guess what? He's playing at Georgia next year, but right now, I'm sorry, because this is not a reality. I think they think they're very prepared for this, but then when I talk to those programs of the world, they're not prepared.
Yeah.
Because it's changing so much. So, could I be entirely wrong and he ends up being some sort of dynasty coach in college? Sure. But the one thing I'll point out is this. This is the last factual thing I'll say that makes me feel good about my skepticism. The terms of his deal were released, finally. And I've never seen a buyout with a sort of trapdoor like this one. And here's what I mean. Buyouts work both ways. Normally we talk about Jimbo Fisher, right? Like GDP of Ecuador to get him bought out or whatever. This is the reverse. Belichick would owe North Carolina $10 million if he left. Except on June 1st of next year, it drops to 1. Mm-hmm. What does that tell you about his interest in the 25-26 cycle?
There's no commitment when you're asking kids to commit to your university.
Yeah. Like he wants to, but I think that he knows right now.
Yeah.
Jacksonville, Chicago, Dallas. I'm doing this off the top of my head.
Jets.
Jets. Yeah, I feel like Jets.
New York Giants next year, maybe.
Maybe Cleveland. Yeah.
Maybe Cleveland.
I think maybe a Cleveland situation where he goes back, ironically, or maybe a Giants situation, ironically. I think he and Woody Johnson would kill each other dead. I mean, that's been talked about in the press. But my point is this, and I'm a Falcons fan, take it for what it's worth. There was like a 30-day courtship last year with that franchise.
Right.
And then they went with Raheem Morris, for better or worse. I mean, there's a perception in the NFL right now. It's not really actually, I say perception sometimes when I'm blending what I've been told by people. There's a reality in the NFL. And that is that no one is going to give a coach total control as a GM simultaneously. It doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
And he got super pissed off and salted the earth and tried to trash like Terry Fontenot and a couple of these other GMs in the media by saying like, oh, well, Belichick was really put off by the way the GM was talking. No, Belichick was put off by the fact that he had to work with another human being. And he's not going to get that kind of luxury in the NFL anymore. So, hey, is this a fun couple-year experiment? And then he tries to jam his son down our throat as the next head coach? Yeah, but I've seen this story before. That's called Iowa. Like, I've seen this story multiple places, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
What's insane to me is that they could have had a really good college head coach of several different varieties. And this is what they ended up with because some rich guys got their feelings hurt that the AD sacked the old coach who was probably past his prime, who they really liked talking to because he made them feel special. It is big, right? It is big, rich, old white guy feelings that are always at the core of these events. Always. Some guy is pissed off on the tee at the country club because someone didn't shake his hand first. And I'm not kidding. This is not exaggeration. I've been doing this for 20 years in college sports.
Godfrey.
The fragility of these dudes always sets in motion the stupidity that you see publicly.
Is this how we got Auburn and Harsin? Is this a similar situation?
Yeah, Auburn's just a little bit more like Jonestown. Like that's just a functional cult. Like Auburn is just simply year in, year out. Sometimes it's a stable cult and they're able to, looks like cults can be efficient, right? We've seen that throughout history. Like, by the way, any Auburn caller, if they're going to be honest with you, and if they after I'm done here, they're like,
it's the second biggest SEC fan base in Nashville, Godfrey, behind Tennessee by my estimation. But most of them know it. I would say.
What are we doing here?
I don't know.
What's going on in the education system?
I've never understood why. Auburn grads either move to Nashville, Birmingham, or Atlanta, and they go nowhere else. But most of them go here.
But yeah, Birmingham's in state. Atlanta, might as well be because they're on the border with Columbus, Georgia. What do we do?
Godfrey, you bring up something, though, when you speak about these decision makers, right? Like, I think we're in prime sports right now as far as college goes, where you mentioned that old money, basically, is what you're saying, running a good bit of these fan bases. Like, when does that change? Does it change? Or do the kids inherit it and they've lived the same lifestyle and make the same decisions and feel snuffed if you don't shake their hand at the country club?
I mean, how extreme do I mean...
What sports show is what I'm going to tell you first before you go further.
All right.
I got the feeling I know where you can go, but I just want we keep it clean.
When we have you in studio, you guys can have the other part of that conversation
we can
off
have the behind the
scene. Redistribution of wealth in America, I believe, is the talking point and/or fear of certain people in this country. And look, man, I didn't get into sports to talk about how many yards a running back went for. To me, this is a platform in which we reflect ourselves as Americans, and no other sport does that better, in my opinion, in college football, period. So this story, you can treat it as aspirational. You can treat it, to me, as an illusion of meritocracy. But the bottom line is, this is how America works. We're a business first,
right?
And we will go to great pains to spend away the absence of logic. And the worst part is this. If this thing blows up, and we've seen these things blow up time and again, I say Herm Edwards, he's the last NFL guy to do this. Nobody got punished. Arizona State lost some scholarships. That's it. But no one grabbed the AD or no one grabbed the boosters and said all right, you're out. So to answer your question, man, that's the problem. Money has a way of sticking around and continuing to make bad decisions. That's the power of money.
Right. He is Steven Godfrey, split zone duo, Washington Post. We have gone through all this, and if you wanted a great example of what the college football calendar is like in 2024, didn't even touch playoff games. But Godfrey, that's why we got you coming back next week. Right? That's right.
Hey,
absolutely
Godfrey,
right.
So what you're basically saying is, I listened to this really good prophetic rapper by the name of Future with Money, and it's basically I don't want to call him a prophet by any way, but he says this as it pertains to money.
Going with this.
What you gonna do? You gonna cry in that Toyota or this Rolls Royce?
And nobody get into this to push a rat for.
That's why we love Steven Godfrey. Godfrey, we'll talk to you next Tuesday. Looking forward to breaking down playoffs with you. Thank you, man.
I'll holler, Tom.
There's Steven Godfrey. What you think of Rap 4 to push this Rap 4? That's right. He gets it.
Godfrey?
He gets it. I think it's a good breakdown. I think it's an interesting breakdown. And again, he made the point. Like, this still could all work. And maybe UNC, through the power struggle they had from boosters to the AD, can piece it all together. But I'm very skeptical.
If you're going to do it, it's going to be more than a 1-year option out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly what you want to hear from the 72-year-old coach you just hired.
He's in a spot where that's like college coaches are going to use that.
Yeah. Heck, they use everything. They use what you do or don't post on social media.
I'm with Bert with it yesterday. Like, I'm willing to buy a ticket and watch it.
Yeah. I am fascinated by it. I'm very excited that it happened. I'm just skeptical it's going to reap $10 million a year of success.
I just feel like we're hating through speculation right now. Like we don't know nothing. We just hating. We just like everybody feel like it's jumping out to be like, hey, I told you he was gonna stink. I was in it.
I don't know.
Well, you know what? Everybody's in that crowd. Everybody, y'all all said it. Everyone said it. I'm gonna be the one dude over here that's like, he gonna win 8 to 9 games every year.
We'll see. We'll wrap up the show. Toyota keys to the game for the Titans, and we'll send you on your way. Coming up.
Is your concrete in need of repair? Maybe your sidewalk is shifting, your driveway is cracked and sinking, or your porch steps have moved. Shifting concrete can create a dangerous situation and trip hazards around your home. It's also a big eyesore. It's Ramon Foster, y'all, and whatever is going on with your concrete, call United Structural Systems. Ask them about the polyurethane foam injections. That's right. You've heard about USS for a long time. The same company that has provided superior foundation repair and waterproofing to Middle Tennessee since 1994. Well, guess what? They can fix your sunken or settling concrete. USS uses polyurethane foam injections to lift and repair your sinking concrete in a matter of minutes. Lifted concrete can also be walked on immediately and even driven on after 30 minutes. So don't go through that long, expensive process of ripping out and replacing concrete. Call for that free estimates from the people that I trust. Go to USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com, or call them at 615-488-7855. United Structural Systems.
RKW wrapping up the show and wrapping up the week with keys to the game, brought to you by your Middle Tennessee Toyota dealers, where you'll find more all-wheel drive and electrified hybrid vehicles than anywhere else. Come in for a test drive today. Toyota, let's go places. Ramon Foster, your number one key for the Tennessee Titans against the Cincinnati Bengals is what?
Put a cap on Jamar Chase. Let's start there first. Running game, we really don't know who their guys are as far as putting the ball on the ground, but put a cap on Jamar Chase. Good coaches, they take away your best weapon. Do that.
Put 2 navy blue hats on Trey Hendrickson. I think it's pretty much that simple. Titans are going to have guys open. I think the Titans had guys open last week, and they still only scored 6 points. Can you hit the big plays when they are there to be hit? They didn't last week. I don't know if they will this week or not, but Trey Hendrickson is the guy that can totally disrupt anything down the field you think you have. So I think that is the number one key for the Titans on Sunday.
Yeah, it is for me too. Dude, my bad. I got thrown off. I was looking at tickets.
What did you get thrown off? What's going on? You looking at? Are you really thinking about doing the Ohio State game?
$6,000 for 4 tickets.
Hey, you ain't got to sit on the sideline, Moan. You ain't got to be in the.
You going with Connor Stallions?
Bill Belichick might be calling him. Dog.
Connor, my guy, who is your ticket plug?
All right, who is your plug for real? Either way, though, this game, though, I think has a lot of stories in it. This Titans-Cincinnati one, for real, though.
You just switched.
I did, because that hurt my heart. I'm going to be real with you. That hurt my heart. I'm going to be real with y'all. $6,000 to go and enjoy a 3-hour event is way too much.
What's the nosebleeds look like? That is too much.
No, looking no nosebleeds, bro.
Come on, man. What about the underneath the nosebleeds?
Too tight. It ain't even the fact that I'm that
drip
bougie. Like the seats are just too tight. So I looked at the club section. All right, 21D all the way at the top. Well, how much?
It's like it's $250.
It's $250. It's $354
on
21D.
What site you looking at?
Ticketmaster.
Oh, really? That's gone up then.
Yeah, $354.
Yesterday there were the cheapest one was $250.
The cheapest one was $250.
Uh-huh.
It must be behind a pole somewhere.
I'm a seat geek kind of gal.
You a seat geek kind of gal?
Yeah, that's me.
I didn't know you changed genders on us.
No, wait a minute. Again, this is a sports station.
Yeah, I didn't know you was going to put the goal behind me and dunk
30 minutes ago.
No, you got me earlier. I'm a payback king.
Identify as a seat geek.
That's fine, man.
Seat geek queen.
That's what I. Where is the seat geek restroom, please?
All right, I'm gonna quickly transition away from this path we're walking down. I'm usually Ticketmaster or Vivid Seats.
Okay,
one of the other.
One of the two. Either way, though, man, I'm thinking about it. Might be a Christmas
there is
gift.
a non-zero chance that Ramon and I are in Ohio Stadium together next weekend because I am close to pulling the trigger myself. If we're doing this together, then I think it's going to help both of us just send it.
Yeah. Vandy Man also named you now Berta, too, by the way.
Okay. Vivid Seats has got 2 for $195 each.
Where at? That's the question.
Section 1C, right behind the goalpost. That's so Tennessee fans have one. Oh, there's that big flagpole. You're right. It is behind the pole.
I told you.
Tennessee fans have created a Facebook event and are starting to invite other Tennessee fans to post-game flag planting, Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, man. Y'all better get it in.
Better get it in for it's a felony.
Hey, look, I got one right here, Ramon. Right here, $175 a ticket.
175. We're at high up.
Well, it's not even high up. It's pretty low. It's field level, but it's outside the stadium. It looks like they have 4 folding chairs, and you could sit and listen to the sights and sounds of the game.
Binoculars come with it?
No binoculars. Well, you can't see in. The walls are there, but they will have headphones. You can listen to it,
cool.
jack it up.
Listen to Bob Kessler.
I'll pass. I did look in the club section, but still.
Of course you did. Yeah, if you're going with me, I'm not going to be in club section.
You going with me. We're going to be in the club section.
That's the show. That is the week. It will be a game week for the Tennessee Volunteers in the college football playoff for the first time when we talk to you next.
No doubt, man.
Soak that in.
I know we do on Fridays, man. Call somebody you ain't talked to in a while. Buy somebody a random drink. Have a random conversation. ELE. Everybody love everybody, man. But at all costs, make it back to us on Monday, man. But your Twitter fingers and your mic is always hot.